So I think we live. Yeah, I think we're live. So today, actually, I don't think that today just I don't know if I'll get people today because I don't have any guest. And I was trying to set it up, but I don't know what is the issue. I'm supposed to have usually the software that I use to connect. Usually the software that I use to connect on to connect my camera. I usually use my phone camera, so I had upgraded it. So I thought it will be able to send better quality of video, but I see that's not working. So I don't know why. Yeah, but I see that we only have one person. So today I don't have anybody who we are going to talk with anything. But yeah, if you want to join in, you can feel free. I'll be able to share the link, and you can feel free to join in and say anything. But I hope you guys are doing good and you're having an awesome day and everything's going well where you are. Yeah, so I'd not invited any guest today that we can be able to do with. I think next Friday is when I'll have somebody. But yeah, I said let's just free roll and see what happens. So I was supposed to have better quality today in terms of video. Had changed some things, but I see still the same. I don't know why it is refusing to do some updates. Yeah, but yeah, I'll try to upgrade and see. But let me. I hope I'll be able to get people. Usually on Friday, people are out having fun. But yeah, I see I only have two people, and I hope I'm audible on your end. And yeah, that's the link in case you want to join in case you want to say something. Like today, we I don't have anybody, but I'm pretty sure some people will turn up and say some amazing things. But I mean, I don't have like a guest who we had planned to do it today. I just wanted us to free roll and see what goes. Where's the dynamic duo lol ID and ID? I can get ID, but I'm not sure if Lloyd will be willing to do something with ID on the show. If you remember last time, if you were around last time when we had the last show, ID walked away. I mean, Lloyd walked away, but ID said that he's okay. But I don't know if he's today. He said that he wants to do calculations first and show that Lloyd is wrong. But I think I'll be able to get him next time. I'll try and see, but yeah, it's possible. It's possible. The only issue that I know is maybe Lloyd might not be willing to come in. He said he doesn't like to argue with ID. But so, according to you, PR Dusa, you really want like us to do ID versus Lloyd. You want us to bring them together, right? Right now, I think Lloyd might be sleeping where he is. Right now, it is about 2 p.m., 2 a.m. at night. But if you really want to have ID and Lloyd, yeah, confirm for me, then I'll try to get them maybe next week. I can try to convince them. I wish there was a way that I can be able to post a poll. I don't know how you do a poll. How do you do a poll? We say ID versus this. Then you see how many people are interested in having ID and Lloyd together on the show. Yeah. But today I just want to know maybe what is in your mind. What do you think? But I try to convince Lloyd. ID, I know he will be willing. ID, I know you'll be willing, but Lloyd, I don't know. You read my reply to you. You mean the reply that I saw on Lloyd's channel, the reply that you replied on my comment on Lloyd's channel. Yes, I saw it. I tried to ask ID, but he did not answer. I'd email him about. I don't know if he answered, but I'd email him to ask him if he can be able, if he's willing, we do today. But he did not answer. So, but I try and see if I can get them both next week. Today, like it was just suddenly. Usually, you have to maybe to prepare somebody in advance so that they prepare what they want to come and talk about. And for the two they want to argue, so each person has to prepare in advance. I try to get them next week and I try to convince them. I don't know if they will accept, but I'll try. I'll try my best and see, and I'll let you know by next week if it works or not, if it will be possible or not. If it's possible, I will post it in advance by Thursday or Wednesday about ID and ID and Lloyd doing a show together. But I hope they agree. I hope they agree and they don't refuse. The only things I know, and also there was Josiah. If you remember Josiah, Josiah wanted to come back and present his paper afresh to people. No, what I said on the video about scientists using AI. No, I did not see that one. Let me look for it. You mean on my video or on Lloyd's video? On my video or on Lloyd's video? Let me look for it. Tell me first before I can be able to check it now. But yeah, it will be interesting. I want to see. Yeah, I want to see. But what I know is ID is very against using AI to come up with books, while Lloyd is okay with, and also we had 14 Supersonic is okay with. It says depends with how you understand AI, and you can be able to get good results from it. But ID believes that when you use AI to do research, especially for books, you may get wrong results. Let me see. Mine that I posted about ID suppressing free energy, scientist create bio free energy, inventor explains why he still mine. You mean on the live stream that we did about? I am down to legitimate show. What do you think should be the topic? I don't know, man. I don't know. Even today, I don't know what the topic should be. But um, if you're down, I don't know if Lloyd will agree, but I can try to convince him. We plan maybe next week, or what do you think? But today, if you want to come in today for the show, we can say ID with withheld identity explains himself in regards to Lloyd Stovall's. How can we put it? You can suggest ID. But today, you interested in coming in today? I'd sent you an email. Uh, I want to check a comment. There's a comment that Pierre Rodusa saying that he left on one of my videos. Did I reply you, Pierre Rodusa? Should scientists use ChatGPT? Let me see. So some of the videos are, but I think I'll hide them later. I'll be posting the videos on the other channel. Should scientists, if they want lol, I see it. I get it, I deal, but that's the problem. There are two camps of people, one that studies and the thinker. You're saying that you're always ready. I know. What about this one? Pierre Odus is saying that you talk about your experiments. You want to come in and change the title of the stream? I get it. I've seen your comment, Pierre Odus. You're saying that there are two camps of people, one that study and those that tinker. It's not always. And if you're just joining in, of course, you can like, even if you want to live, just like the stream and go. It helps to suggest to other people. Even if you want to live just like the stream and go. So let me read these comments. But and that's the thing. It's not always those that studied that have the moment. Like I said, the thing with AI, people are finding solutions to problems just by asking the right questions. I'm not defending either camp, nor is it my position or desire. Just remember, everything is impossible until it isn't. Laws have always been refined when something new challenges their limit. I believe there's a solution out there that may or may not have been discovered in the history of mankind. As wrong in scientific thought as the grifters may be, I don't knock anyone that's actually just trying. So you're saying that you don't knock down anyone who's trying to use AI to think or to come up with a experiment or any idea, or anybody using AI to come up with a research or anything. You believe that some people use AI and they are able to find solutions. I think that's what I understand from your video. That's what I understand from your video. Experiments. You want to ID if you're interested, yeah. Pierre Odus is saying that you can come in and talk about your experiments. Yeah, with that one you can just say withheld identity or identity withheld shows talks about some of his experiments. I don't know if how you'll be able to talk about them when you don't want people to know who you are. And I see we have 14 Supersonic. Are we talking about AI today? No, that was the comment. I was reading one of the comment that Pierre Producer left on the other live that we did, and Pierre Producer was saying that he's not on any side, but he believes that some people are using AI to come up with solutions. Like you can use it for research and come up with solutions. And I think, according to him, people should not be against those who use it to come up with solutions. But ID had an issue with scientists relying on AI for such things. I think that's the issue that ID had. I think ID believes that scientists should do research the old way, how people are doing some time back. And thanks for this Supersonic for being around. ID, if you want to come in, man, feel free. We can talk about your experiments or anything. Or you want us to talk about the Pope? I did. You want us to talk about the Pope? Come on, Chris, bring CL on. You mean CL disappeared? CL nowadays it doesn't come around. I see his comment, but it doesn't show up. I don't know what happened to him. But CL has a lot of ideas in his mind. Or should for this supersonic? Should we change the title to "How do you use AI"? How do you use AI today? But let's see if ID can be able to join in, like he said. Or he did not say that he's going to join. He said that he's ready anytime. I did say that he's ready anytime. But Pierre Rodusa was asking for a video that we do ID and Lloyd. And I said that one I have to ask Lloyd first. And I'm sure maybe he might accept or might refuse. It might take some time for me to organize something like that. I mean, it won't take time. It just depends with Lloyd. I know Lloyd won't be into it, but I'll try to convince him. If you have the tools, you should. If you have the tools, you should use them. They always are not worth relying on. So for this supersonic is talking about using AI. You say for T Supersonic to hit the panel and talk about AI. For T Supersonic said that he won't come on unless I'm using I'm using that other streaming software. What is the name of the streaming software? Unless I'm using forgetting the name. I'm not near my PC right now, hanging out with the kid. I'm chatting in the background. Oh, I see. I see, no problem. It is 5 p.m. on your side. It's 5 p.m. on your side, I think. It should be 5 p.m. or so. It's still too early, but it's okay. So, ID, you're saying that you're okay if we get Lloyd. You're okay to have this discussion with him, but not today. If we manage to convince him, maybe on I don't know when I can convince him. Maybe next week. I try to talk to him and see if I'll be able to convince him. If I can, you're saying that you're okay and you can do it. AI needs to be proven. It's 4:20 p.m. are still early, man. I see it's still early. I think the thing that people have with AI when you use AI for research is, the things that people talk about hallucination and I'll yes, hallucinations. And sometimes they say that you can be able to convince AI to say the truth even if it's wrong. That's the thing that I know most people have with AI. It can lie and it can lie, or you can convince it to lie. So most people have an issue with that. But you guys, I know 40 Supersonic and Lloyd say that they're using the paid versions, which is much better and it doesn't do those hallucinations. 40 Supersonic validations, but the answer is key. That's what most people have an issue with. They believe that the answers it gives are wrong. I might get on for a moment, but I'm eating right now. Feel free for this Supersonic. You want me to reshare the link again? Feel free. We can talk about AI for a bit. No problem. No problem. Let me change the title of the stream. Feel free for T Supersonic. No problem, no problem. Let me change to should scientists use AI for research? AI for research is AI for research acceptable? Yeah, if you're just joining in, I see that we only have like 6 people. Feel free to join in. And we are waiting for T Supersonic to join in. He says that he believes AI should be used for research. And also, if you feel like you want to join in before 40 Supersonic comes in, let me share this link. And earlier on, I was saying that for the Pierre Odus is saying that AI can do whatever thing you want it to do, and Scamchan is saying that, but AI is improving. I don't know if you guys have seen. I don't know if you guys have seen Grok. Grok, that one is for X. I don't know if you guys have seen. It's called text to card. Text to card, where instead of drawing things like how we used to draw it, and you go and 3D print it, you can just give it information with text that I want you to draw this, extrude, do this, then it does that, and you go ahead to do what you want. I think as much as AI has a lot of problem and a lot of issues, it is a very important tool for a lot of people. It can help you a lot. For Gorilla, I told you to make a pic of a black kid and show me. That's crazy. I wish did screenshot like that one. But I think AI is Grok is for X. I mean, that one belongs to Elon Musk. And you see, Elon Musk and Trump, they have an issue with South Africans. So maybe you're right. But sometimes the people who make the programs, the people who put it together, are the ones who have issues. I mean, people behind the scenes. We say, is AI worth it today for research? Is AI worthy today for research? There is also MCP servers. This is a very powerful tool with AI. Not all AI is the same. That's the thing. Not all AI is the same. I'm trying to look for a better title now that for T Supersonic say that we can talk about AI for a bit. What can we title? Should I say do you use paid version? Do you use paid version of AI or do you use AI? Have you ever used Do you use AI? Have you ever used AI? Do you use the paid version? So I see we have 6 people. Even if you're about to leave, just hit the like button, then you go. You're waiting for this supersonic say that he's having lunch, then he comes on. I think dinner. Then he comes on and we talk about anything. Or if you have any suggestion, you can also drop it down. So I'm thinking about what title to put it up now. Because for this supersonic saying that we talk about AI. When we say is AI worth it in 2024, Suno has different versions for their music AI. Yes, Suno has different versions. There's the latest version actually does good music, and you can be able to remaster your music after you're done with it. I saw the one that you are done on your channel, and it sounds good. I hear that if you use the paid version is much better. I think for $2,000, or I say, have you used any AI tool for $20? Any AI tool. I wish I could change also the image, but I don't have images. Have you used any AI tool? You say Udio is the best for music. Are you sure? Most people are using Suno. I know so many people are using Suno, and some people are using Suno and making money actually. I know of a guy in my country, but now in my country, I think some people are unable to tell between AI and AI music and real music. So there's this guy who uses AI music in my country, and he did a song, a gospel song on it, and it was massive, like massive. Then he went on and do like a video. A video is he's just doing a video like he is singing along, but he made a lot of money from it. And the video I think has more than like 10 million views or so. And he has made a lot of money and continued doing more music on the same. Although no one has called him for any interview or anything or any show, but I think he gets money on doing ads and also selling maybe advertisement for some companies. So you saying you use Udio? I've not used Udio before. And Udio, is it? Do you pay for it again, or it's more like Suno? Because I know Suno there's free versions. You're given 50. Is it 50 credits per day? But if you pay for it, then it's much better. And right now with Suno, their latest model, you can only do with it a few number of songs. Then once you're done, you go to I think version 3.5 or something. Until if you pay is when they give you the best model. The best model sounds better a little bit. And if you upload your song, I've seen a case where I uploaded like something I'd sung on the background, a beat I'd made on the background, and I tried to add how you can. I tried to add like some lyrics and all that. And it sounds nice. I think people can use AI for, especially when for musicians. I think you can use it for composition of melodies. I don't know what you guys think about it, because I've been giving it some of the beats that I usually have made. I used to make. They don't sound good, but when you put it there and you just put in some lyrics, although it only now for the free version it only cuts like 60 seconds of your, you trim 60 seconds of your beat, and then now it sings on it. Like the way it composes the melodies, some of them, some other melodies, they sound so much better. I think it can be used for music composition, not composition, but that's music, melodies composition. It has free and paid versions too. I think you can do more with free version in Udio than Suno, I see, because Suno is limited. Your audience is saying that the same. What do you mean the same? You mean the two are the same? Producer, you mean by the same, you mean, or you mean that you've been using it for composition as well? But I think for composition, it's much better, much better, much better, much better. So I was trying to see if I can access it. The singing of those sack. Yeah, the singing is actually not good. Higher quality, more editing, upload a sample, etc. Yeah, when you upload a sample, actually, I think in composition, when you upload a sample, it can really do a lot in terms of composition. And I feel like musicians who have a problem with repeating the same melody, there are some musicians who have an issue with repeating the same melody. They can be able to use such tools to come up with very like amazing songs, because you put in your, maybe your producer's given you an instrumental, then you sing a little on it. You can give it the direction that you want it to go, and you put in, and Suno will make it much better. I don't know about Udio. If Udio can do the same too, the same thing as well. But the singing sucks. Then once you get the singing or the melody, how the melody goes, now you can go back to the studio and you sing that melody. I think that way you can really kill it. Although now I had an issue that when once you make that song on Suno, that they have a copyright of the same. I don't know. There's something I was seeing where somebody was asking who has a copyright of such material. Like say you're putting in your own lyrics on a free version, you're putting your own lyrics and your beat, your instrumental, then Suno improves on it and it generates a better melody that is very catchy. Because as soon as you can tell it to make it catchy, you can tell it the type of genre that you want, and it makes it very catchy. Now you download it and you go to a studio and you sing. You improve the beat to be like how Suno has made it, and also the melody, and you sing. Now, like, who holds the copyright for such material? Is it Suno or is it you? Like, who holds the copyright for such material? You're saying that you will disagree in terms of singing. Singing sucks. Singing sucks. Pierre do so. Singing of the AI model sucks, and we can just tell from far that this is AI. Unless if the audio that you guys are talking about is much better. But I know singing of those models, it sucks. Like you listen to it and you feel like, this doesn't sound good at all. That one I'm 100% sure. Unless if you and unless if you and you and Forty Supersonic are running different models. But I know singing sucks. So I see that we have about 7 people. If you just join in, feel free to like. So you're saying that Suno owns it until you upgrade it. So if you're using the free version, it means the song belongs to Suno. So if you go ahead and sing on it and you make a lot of money, Suno they can come and sue you. I think that's the issue with also AI. But how do they own it when maybe I'm the one who wrote the lyrics? Because using Suno lyrics sometimes doesn't make sense. Say I'm the one who wrote the lyrics, I'm the one who gave it the beat. It just improved on it. Like, doesn't is it fair for them to own it? Yeah, yeah, this is correct. Instrumentals are much better than vocals right now. That's correct. It's better to use it for generating instrumentals than for the vocals. You're saying Suno is much better to me. Have you used both for Scamchan? Because for me, I've only used Suno. The audio that the 40 Supersonic and the Pierre Rodusa are talking about, I haven't used them. But I've tried out Suno. It's much better. I know it's better. There's another one that I saw on my advert a few days ago. I don't know if it was audio or what. In the advert, they were saying that it's much better in terms of using your in terms of like uploading your instrumentals or uploading your vocals of something you sing and they improve on it. I tried to remember, I'd clicked on it, but now they wanted me to register and the option to use my personal vocals or my own instrumental, it was paid version, so I clicked away. But for teens, Scamchan is saying that Suno wins. I think Suno wins, but I haven't used Udio. I'll try Udio later on after this. Play that, Chris. You saying I play what? Udio sucks. Have you used Udio? Your live stop. Have you used Udio? Even the covers for the music hours. So you have used Udio. I'll try to see it. Producer, you're saying that I play what? Or you're saying that I play Suno right now? There's a bit that I usually use for my videos, which I made with Suno. Suno. I've made a few with Suno. There's another one that I made. It was pretty cool. I say this one I'll go sing, but that one was using my beat. Let me look for it and see if I can play it. But now you guys will not understand. It was my local language. Let me see if I have it. I'll say this one. If one day I get courage, I go to studio and record it, or I can use my microphone here. I don't know where I saved it. Let me try to find it in a minute. Suno, why Suno, why Suno, why Suno? I think I have a folder called Suno somewhere where I usually put Suno related stuff. But it doesn't. Let me look for it. CapCut 2025. Let me look for it. So if you're just joining in, feel free to give the stream a like so that it can recommend us to more people. Today we don't have a lot of people, so also I realized on Friday you don't get a lot of people. I think the day that you get a lot of people on is on Wednesday. And last week, so Sunday was also good. But on the channel, from how I usually see, from channel how I usually see what is the name, analytics. Most people don't watch the content on Sundays. Like on weekends, I don't get a lot of what. On weekends, I usually don't get a lot of views. I've used both Udio and overall it's better than Suno, but Producer Scamchan seems to agree. No, 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 I don't see any link. Have you shared a link? You want me to play something? Have you shared a link? I think somebody said that for me to see a link, unless let me know if you're trying to share a link, then I can make you. Somebody say that for somebody to share a link, you have to make them to be moderator. Let me know if you're trying to share a link, then I will, I'll do so and add you. CapCut, who is this? I want to add this one. Share the link, then I'll see it. I mean, let me know. Like you want to, let me know if you want to add the link. Then I will have to make you a moderator. But I can see that a number of people are coming in and leaving. I think most people are used to when we have guests on the show. And also there are some who have an issue with me, but they say that they don't like it when I bring on what's the name of the guy? You say that you want to share a link. Okay, let me add you. Let me let me see if I can make you a moderator. If you're just joining in, feel free to like the stream. Give it a like before you go. Channel activity, others moderator. I think you're good to go. You can share now, and I'll see it. I was saying that let me play this one. I think, but Suno sounds awful, man. I mean, when they sing, they sound awful. But this one, I'd put my own lyrics. Then I did put my own instrumental. But Suno made some little improvement to the instrumental. Then I did put my own what? Yeah, a lot of things of my own. 32 second creation. Okay, okay, okay. Is it a song of yours? Close, close, close. Is it a song of yours? Producer, let me see. Let me play it before I play what I wanted to play. Producer and deserved create play. I see. Let me see how to share that screen. Then I'm going to play it in a second. If you're just joining in, I want to play a song that producer sang that he made with Udio. So let me see how I can be able to share the screen. And I see that we have 9 people. The number of people are increasing. Feel free to add screen. Feel free to give the video a like, the stream that is. I want to share a screen of Producer, and that's why I'm like looking at things here and there. I think I need to position in future. I need to. What did I do now? What did I do now? Yeah, like I was saying, so the question that you're having today, if you're just joining in, have you ever used AI before to do anything? Have you used it maybe to write a song? Have you used it to do research at school or anything? Yeah, feel free to share what you think in the chat section. And as of now, I want to play a song that Pierre Producer said he made with an AI app. It's called Udio. So add it to screen, and this one, yeah, let's see how it sounds. Then I go here and I play.
I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it. Merit set me free. He gave his life for me so I could sever he died.
So I hope it's audible. So my opinion, I think is right. Suno, this one is audio. Audio sounds much better. It sounds better compared to Suno. No way you can disagree with that, Scamchan. If that's audio. It sounds better. It sounds realistic. Sounds realistic. But I think if I listen to it on headphones is when I can be able to tell if there's some. Usually there's some difference when you compare it to the normal ones. But I think it sounds better compared to Suno. It sounds better because Suno, like anybody listening to it, it's very easy to tell if it's AI music or not. But this one, I see it sounds much better. And you're saying it is audio. Man, I'll give it a try. And then I don't know what you think about what Scamchan is saying. Scamchan is saying that Suno gives more credits compared to audio. You mean the free version or the paid version? Can you maybe tell me more about the same? Do you mean the free version or the paid version? Yeah, that singing is legit, man. I feel like it sounds real, like as real as anything can be. It sounds so real. It sounds real. You're sharing something. Let me see. Sono, you want me to play that one? But I hope the artistry is going away. ID. If you listen to that song from Piero Dusa on Suno, it was audio. I'm pretty sure it sounds amazing. And I have a question for you, the person who shared Piero Dusa. Is it the free version or that was the paid version? Because it sounds so real, man. Even we have David is saying that it sounds so real. David is from Malawi. David from Malawi, man. Thanks a lot for coming around. And David, feel free to hit a like. I mean, it sounds so real. Let's play Suno and we see. We compare it with Suno. Let me see how to. Let me play it one more time before I play the Suno one. You see the difference. But I think it sounds so real. Let me play it again.
I didn't deserve it. Merit set me free. He gave his life for me so I could sever he died.
Okay, okay. Let me see how I can play the one from Suno. Let's be honest, artistry died with FL Studio. But with FL Studio, that's more about music composition in terms of beats and instrumentals. But still, to give you control, you can put in plugins and people add in the natural sounds like guitar and all that. But let me go to play this other one. So if you're just coming in, feel free to hit the like button. When you hit the like button, it recommends us to more people. And today we're just free flowing. Although we are talking about the topic of AI, whether you've used it before or not, and some people are sharing what they've created with AI. And David Chumi is saying that he really likes the code progression, and I agree, like it sounds realistic. The beta version 4.4 version they took away from Suno seems much realistic. Yeah, yeah. This one is more realistic with Suno the 4.0, but the 3.5 is not really that amazing. And let me try to play yours before I come back to reply people. And let me do this. So if you're just joining in, I want to play something from what Scam Channel shared. He did this with AI, and it just shows how AI has advanced so far. The name of the song is called Reaper. Reaper Night, Reaper Night, Reaper Night. And it is on your screen. So let me do this. Or let me just play it. Because this one doesn't have lyrics. So let me just play it. Is it just instrumentals? I think it's just instrumental. Something, but these are just instrumental because we should love lyrics. Good music. And not your style. It seems like is it heavy metal? Let me see the genre. Is it heavy metal? Loud drums, little rap music, etc. Oh, so that's Kamchan's type of music, and it's dark, yeah. Yeah, that's true. It says dark synthwave. For me, when I heard it, I thought it was heavy metal, but I see it's heavy metal is guitar, right? I see it's called loud drums, synthwave, and dark gothic with terror. I did saying that that's not his style. I think that's a style for a few, but yeah, it sounds nice. And like you said, Suno is better when it comes to generating the instrumentals. But if you add in people singing, it sounds off. It doesn't sound as good as Udio. And Pierre is saying that Udio, his song on Udio, it was free version, not a paid version. So my question is, do you get like credits like how you do with Suno, or how does it go? Do you get credits like free credits every day? Because with Suno, you're given free credits every day that you can use to play around, and it also gives an option to remaster your song. Yeah, Suno gives longer songs. Suno can give you up to 3 minutes on the free version, and then it gives you one option for remastered. There is a song that I did which I remastered, and it was, I think, one. Say you do all kinds, but which one do you like the most? It looks like you like the synthverse or the heavy. It was called heavy metal. No, they say it's called synthwave. It's called synthwave. So you like the synthwave genre? Synthwave. But yeah, it just shows how AI is progressing, and with the creation of videos, the video tool also. In terms of music, I feel like you can use AI for composition of music. Say you create a beat with instrumental with Suno, and then the same instrumental you try to use both Suno and Udio to try and making the best lyrics, and also to try and advance your melody. You can try various types of like varieties in terms of the melody, and also to improve your chorus. Then, if you know how to sing now, you meet with your producer and you work on it. I think people that way can create better songs, because again, I know that people don't like it when they hear AI sound. Even for me, when I create a video with AI, it usually has a very low, how do you call it, low watch time. I mean, the engagement is usually very low, and some people will say they don't like AI sounds compared to natural sounds. So there's that kind of thing. People don't like AI related tools, and it has to do with how people feel like AI is coming to take away their jobs. That's one thing. David, are you still around? If David, you're still around, have you used AI before? Is there any tool that you use of AI in your country? I know you guys, you're from. You said David. You said you're from. I'm forgetting the name. You said you're from Malawi. Like in Malawi, have you tried to use any AI to that side? Welcome for this Supersonic. Today for this Supersonic join man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm into minimal lyric content. Also, you prefer it to have very, like in terms of lyrics, very few. For this Supersonic, welcome, welcome, man. I wish,
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh,
You hear
okay.
me? You hear as well, yeah?
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now. I was trying to um set up my computer so that if I have to get on the stream through my computer, I could do it that way too. Because I have a problem with YouTube on
Phone.
Google Chrome.
Oh,
Sometimes
okay.
YouTube just won't work. Yeah, like the site works, but like the video doesn't work at all. But like everything else is fine. It's just YouTube for some reason. I think maybe it's because I use a VPN, but I turned the VPN off
Uh,
and it still did the same thing. So I don't know. But I'm on my phone for now.
so it's the phone which has those issues, but your laptop is okay. Your PC.
Uh my computer is like, well, I have the stream up now, but it's just like not on Chrome. So like I have it on both actually. But I'm on my phone at the moment.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you're sounding okay. Yeah, you don't have issues. No, no, like no those delays and like what we had last time. I think last time you
Mm,
tried it with Lloyd's. I think it was his phone. There's a way whenever we are talking with him, it has those, like when I speak, it is as if I'm repeating myself. Echoes, yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. But it's fine now. Like I don't think there's any problem right now.
Yeah, yours is very okay. No echo at all.
Mm.
So, for, Pierre Producer shared another song which he did with Udio. You say that you also use Udio. Let me try to see if I can play it. You say that you also use Udio.
Yeah, yeah. I used Udio when it first came out. Um, I was like, mm, I think around this time last year, maybe a little bit before then. And for like the first month or so, it was completely free.
Yeah.
So like you had like unlimited generations, and for when it first came out, the quality was really good. Like it was already better than everything else out there, but um over like the next couple months after that, like some of the other stuff caught up, like Suno and some of the other music generation services. Um, I forget it's like another one that I'm trying to think of, but I can't remember. And then there's a couple that you can actually run on your own computer, but they're not quite as good as Udio and Suno. But yeah, it's I think it's better overall. Like I don't think Suno is bad, but if you compare like apples to apples, Udio is
Yeah.
just better. Yeah. Um but it's getting to the point where you can kind of hardly tell the difference because like the quality is so good. It's just the vocals do still need some work. I think the instrumental parts are still better, but um you can, if you know what you're looking for, you can kind of hear where the AI generated sort of parts are, like the you get the artifacts where it's like there's something missing in the sound or it's sort of like choppy or whatever, but it's improving. So
yeah, yeah. I think when it comes to instrumentals, because for a long time, right, we have been using uh, apps like FL Studio
Yeah, yeah,
and all that. We in of which they are just generating. It's more like electronic instruments, and not the organic instruments. So that's
yeah.
why instrumentals sound much like they sound just normal.
Normal. Yeah, we've had a lot of time to refine that stuff. It's like it's no different than using those programs, like you said, because all they're doing is sort of like all they're doing is emulating the actual sounds and turning them from a analog input to a digital
Yeah,
output.
and it
Yeah.
it makes me think like such a program makes it easier for, say, for producers. If you can be able to generate now something like that and it's catchy, then now you bring it back and you do something like how they do sampling on it, and you improve on it, you make it maybe sound better or sound like you.
Yeah, yeah, how you actually want for it to sound. Udio, when it first came out, it was mainly just generations. So you could Suno is similar, I believe, too. But
Yeah.
I think Udio has like a couple features that Suno doesn't. But you would be able to generate by like segments, like 30 seconds, a minute,
Mhm.
something like that, and then you could keep branching, or you could combine the next iteration of what you want the track to get to. And sometimes it would work well, and sometimes it doesn't, so you keep having to generate and change your prompt until you get to what you actually want. But
Yeah.
now they have the option. I don't know when they added this because I haven't actually used Udio in a while, but I did use it again maybe like a few months ago to see like how different it was compared to when I first used it. And they added support for being able to take like stems, and then you could take that and port it into other programs like you were saying, and you
Yeah.
could change it and maybe make it more to how you originally wanted it to sound. And I think it's kind of like what it's the power of AI, how you could start from essentially almost nothing, or you have an idea, and
Yeah.
then you can use the AI to sort of just um, sort of give you a rough draft of how you want, but it's like the whole, like maybe not the whole thing, but a good portion of the rough draft. And you can start from like maybe 50% instead of, nothing, how you would have if you didn't even know like how to compose instruments, or how to um, how to sing even, because some people don't have like a whole studio where they could get all of these things and put them together. So it kind of enables more people who have like an idea that they want to do, and they
Yeah.
can kind of just get it out of their head and you know put it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I think it will help a lot with music composition
Yeah.
if you can use it as a tool. Like the issue is, most of us right now, you just go need to generate a song, then you post it or you share it. But if you can use it as a tool, like in composition, music composition, melody, instrumental. But the only issue that I see with it is it will kill that sort of like artistry, or like for now it's using a library of all the music it has, all the music developed, which in a way it prevents or it stops evolution of music. You see how people sometimes you come up with a different sound, a new sound.
Mm,
Now if we all rely on AI a lot, it will get to a point where we are just using like the older music versions which AI is generating for you, but that originality of just coming up with something new, I think it will fade with time, because
mm,
people we go on use it for the because of how simple it is.
Yeah,
Before you say
I,
a
I hear
comment, yeah,
I hear a lot of people say this about AI in general. To an extent, I could kind of see what people are saying because it's almost like, for example, with like music, how we're talking about right now. It's
yeah,
almost no different though, because sometimes you can hear like these days how a lot of genres sound like the same now. Like even if it's different artists, like you could easily say that, you know, some of the music we have these days can tend to sound generic even without AI. So it's almost no different. But I think there's also the other side where I, new genres will maybe come up, and new types of things that you couldn't even do before without AI with music. Like for example, you know how you can kind of just tell it how you want. Like you have maybe a certain style of music that you like,
yeah,
but you know no one's gonna just be able to spit out like stuff that's completely catered to your particular style. But with an AI, you know, it would know all of your preferences and how you like to hear, like, you know, a certain guitar riff this way, or a type of vocal track that you prefer over maybe another style. And like how you said, it does kind of combine all these previous uh, songs and sounds that it had to train on. But a lot of people don't account is that AI is getting to the point now to where it can actually
think on it.
create new stuff that wasn't there before.
Uh,
Yeah. So currently, how you're saying, we really relied on like training using data that's already out there. But because we are starting to like run out of stuff that doesn't exist, because you can only train on so much information that's on the internet. Um,
uh,
but we're getting also new information in the internet every day. So it's not like, I don't think we'll ever run out like 100%, but we are at the point now to where we have to use synthetic data. So we kind of have to create our own data to make up for the information that isn't out there, that the model hasn't trained on. And at some point, the AIs will be able to, and they already kind of have shown this ability to do it now,
yeah,
with some models, but they could just use all that information that they have and come up with completely new novel stuff that hasn't been seen before. And yeah, that's going to be a very powerful thing. Like the way I use AI is I use a bunch of different models and platforms. Like I'm not just using one. I
uh,
use Chat GPT, which is what most people sort of think about when they think of AI.
yeah,
I use that. I haven't used Claude in a while. But I used to use that a lot, like maybe a few months ago. But I used to use that. I use Gemini. I use Google Gemini, which is probably the best next to Chat GPT. I feel
yeah.
like they
Gemini.
kind of go back and forth between which one's better now, because for a while Google's models actually weren't that good compared to everyone else. Like ChatGPT was stomping them every time they release a new model. Google's models tend to hallucinate more. They tend to have like so many restrictions where they put out like weird responses that made no sense. Like if you asked, like, what did a a soldier in World War II Germany look like, and it would give you like a completely weird result that you wouldn't expect, like a Native American or something.
Yeah,
But it doesn't do that anymore. Almost none of these models do that now. That was like something that was very common maybe a year ago, but now not really. Hallucinations aren't really gone completely, but for the most part, I think if you want a accurate answer, it gives it back to you maybe like 95% of the time. So I think in terms of inaccuracies, it's like maybe around like 5%, 8%, something like that.
Mm, I see.
Yeah. So
Let
you
me.
usually get, yeah.
I was saying I played this one song that Pierre Producer sent this song. He did with what is the name? Udio.
Studio. Yeah.
Yeah, let me play it. Then we go on. You listen to it. He says it sounds better than the other one. Um,
In the stillness of the night, I feel your touch, guiding me softly. It's never too much. With every breath, I hear your name, a melody that sets my soul aflame. When the shadows try to dim my life, your voice calls me to new heights. 'Cause I will fly over mountains, through the valleys, and over plains. As I listen to the words that you speak, you give me wings to soar over my enemies. Shut up and fly. Shut up and fly. Higher and higher and higher. I'm going higher. Shut up and fly. Shut up and fly. And higher. In the quiet, I hear you call. Your love lifts me even when I fall. Strength in your whispers, hope in your gaze. You light my path through darkest days, and I will glide through every storm. Wrapped in your grace, come on, safe and warm. 'Cause I will fly over mountains, through the valleys, and all over plains. As I listen, the words that you speak, you give me wings to soar over my enemies. Shut up, yeah. Shut up, yeah. I'm going higher and higher and higher. Shut up and fly. Shut up and fly. I'm going higher and higher and higher.
I think that one you can be able to catch it as AI or it's too
Yeah.
realistic.
I think the other one was probably a little bit better.
Yeah, the
'Cause
first one. Yeah,
you can kind of hear that the vocals, like the resolution of the voice, is kind of low or something. If you know what I mean.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that one you can, if you listen to it, you can hear it doesn't sound human like, but it like the composition, the melody, and all that, and how they sing, how the AI sang. Let me not say how they sing to make it sound like people, but how the AI composes the song, it sounds nice.
Yeah, it's good.
I think audio, yeah, maybe audio is much better. The other thing I'd seen with AI is it can, like when you talk about music composition right now, you can, yeah, that's generated singing. You're saying that you're unable to see the difference, Kamchan. Anyways, like you can do different genres. You can tell it to do A and B, and it brings it together and makes it easier, which is something
Mm.
very difficult right now. If you went to a producer and you told him, "I want music that sounds like this
Like
genre," yeah,
exactly, yeah. 'Cause that's the one thing that AI is really good at is pattern matching. And I don't really hear some people mention that a lot because a lot of people think that AI is kind of just guessing or predicting, which to an extent is kind of true. It is true, but it's not the whole picture that's going on. especially not now with some of the newer models. But it's like if you break down almost anything you could think of, like any industry or any domain, you could basically break it down to a core set of patterns. And if you could do that, then the AI could basically replicate that. Now, how well it would actually be able to replicate that, it just depends on the training, the data it has,
Yeah.
the actual model's understanding of that particular domain, because a lot of these models are trained on general information. Sometimes you might have a model that's fine tuned to do something specifically well,
Yeah.
but a lot of the models, like for example, like ChatGPT and Gemini, and whatever else out there, they're more general. They're meant to do anything you ask for it to. It's meant to be generalized. So I think that's it's like if you have a particular thing you want to do
Yeah.
and you want it to do that one thing really well, it's best to fine tune that model. Now, if you want to fine tune a model, there's like a couple different ways you could do it. But for me, I have a decent computer. I actually have a couple computers that could do some stuff for me, but I don't necessarily have like enough compute power to make my own models myself. So I tend to just run whatever is out there by default, and I use other things like um, RAG, or they call it retrieval augmented generation. It's basically like, how when you give like one of these models a file, like a document or an image or something, and it
Yeah.
could you could do something with that based on that's what RAG is basically. Uh, it's like a file attachment system kind of. And there's a little more to it than that, but yeah, it allows you to give the model more information than what it has actually inside. But yeah, I use that pretty much all the time because when I'm using AI, I use it for like almost everything. So I tend to try to think of ways that I could use AI to improve what I do already, but do it better. So how like some people kind of say, back to when you were saying earlier, how like when the AI gets so good to where people will just use it by default and they'll rely on it so much without even really thinking, and it'll make everything seem like the same, or people will just get lazier.
Yeah.
And I don't use it like that, but I think a lot of people kind of want AI to be like this. um what do they call it? It's like a one stop solution that's like that instantly gives you the answer that you want right away. But I don't think, even when like AI gets really good, I don't think it'll ever get to that point where, sure, it'll maybe be able to do like a lot of things. Like for example, if you want like a TV series or something, and you just ask it in one prompt, and it would be able to like give you that perfect episode every time for that series that it made, especially for you. But
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever get to a point where it'll be like where you would 100% be able to rely on it without using some kind of critical thinking. Because even now, like if you think about how we use computers now, we have all these different programs and applications, but it doesn't stop you from, you still need to know how to think through a problem and solve it yourself, if you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah. I know.
yeah. And the way I use it is, I think I use it in more advanced ways than what most people do, because I'm working on like a bunch of different things. Like I'm working on some robotic stuff. I think I mentioned that like, a while
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
You
working
have a
on an X. Hey,
you
go
have a
ahead.
robot. You have a robot of your own that you've made.
No, 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 not made, but I'm working on making an exoskeleton. Yeah.
Uh,
So right now I'm sort of in the I'm in the process of making my own artificial muscles that will
yeah.
drive the skeleton. and I'm making some progress on that. My goal is to use materials and resources that you could easily find like off the shelf or in household, and you can make it yourself pretty easily. But right now there's like some chemistry involved, and a lot of the components that I make I have to make myself using like 3D printing. Because I have my own 3D printer. I just got it like a few months ago actually. um yeah, a lot of my stuff is custom made right now. But yeah, I'm working on that, and I'm also working on designing the frame. So like the lower part and the upper part of the body. But right now, I'm mostly just focused on the lower part. Um, and I do have something, a unique aspect to it that I have not seen in any other exoskeleton. Of I would explain more about it right now, but I want to like kind of just save that for later, because I'm going to open source everything at some point once I get everything to a state to where I can actually use it myself. Then I'm going to actually open source everything and tell people how to replicate it so they can do whatever they want with it, or they can change it and add stuff on. Um, but yeah, I do that, and really when I'm doing that project, I'm actually thinking of different ways that I can different materials that I can use,
Yeah,
different ways to design
yeah,
the actual structure of the exoskeleton. Like for example, I didn't even realize this until like maybe a couple months ago. But with some of these newer models that can actually think now,
yeah,
so back to when I was saying how people think that models just predict and stuff like that. At the base level, that's sort of what some of the models do. Like for example, with ChatGPT and the other ones, they're what you would typically call transformer models. Those are the ones that people typically think of, like the LLMs. But then you have other types, like you have diffusion models, which are like Stable Diffusion, Mid Journey, the type
yeah,
of models that generate images and things like that, video and such. But with the transformer models, they're the ones that are typically like just predicting the next token, essentially. Um, but over time, we've stacked on more functionality to the models to where they can think over a longer period of time. Because usually, when a model is trying to figure out its response,
yeah,
it's doing something called inference, which is what it's doing when it's sort of, it's not really thinking, but it kind of is thinking. Because what a LLM essentially is, it's mimicking the neural pathways of the brain. That's why they're called neural networks. And what they've done now is they've essentially stacked on another component called test time training, so it can do more of that for a longer period of time. And if you've used any of the newer models, um, you can try this with, well, with ChatGPT, the way they do their thinking models is a little different. You can't actually see what the model is thinking on there. You can see a somewhat of a representation, but it's not actually what it's doing. But
yeah,
in Google Gemini, you can actually see when you put your prompt in, it'll say thinking. If you open up that drop down dialog, you'll see everything that it's sort of thinking about while it's during the inference and the model. And then you get the actual response, like the answer, whether it's like code or whatever you want it to put out. And really, what this is doing to these models is allowing it to reason more advanced problems to get to more accurate solutions. And it's doing this thing called Monte Carlo tree search, which is basically, it's like a path prediction system. It's also called A star, I think. There's A star and then there's Q star, which is what I think ChatGPT calls their models. But A star is essentially, it's like a search system where it's always looking for the best uh, path to get to the actual solution. So it tries something, and if it didn't get that result right, then it goes back, it tries something different, and then it keeps doing that until it gets to what it thinks is the best solution. And then that's when you actually get your response. So the models, they're not just predicting anymore. They're actually doing a lot more than that. And what's crazy is now this allows these models to do like actual simulations, sort of, like all sorts of crazy things. I don't know if you've seen or used, like, what's the latest model that you've used?
On Chat GPT, I do use Chat GPT, but for
Do you know
me,
what
I
you
think I
know
use
which
three.
model?
I think I use. Let me confirm. I can confirm in a minute. And also DeepSeek.
DeepSeek R1.
DeepSeek is around. Yeah.
The model name DeepSeek R1, because there's different models too. They have like DeepSeek R1, DeepSeek V3. The new one's
Deep
supposed to come out soon.
DeepSeek. DeepSeek I use around. On Chat GPT I use. I use. I think it's three. Is it three? Three or
03.
four? I use the
So they
free
have
version.
the free. Well, the free version also has multiple models that you can use, and they all are best at certain things. You have like O3, which is their best model that has thinking capability. Then they have O4, which is slightly um less quality than O3, but it also has thinking. It's just faster. And
So
then yeah, go ahead.
for you, it's like you run them locally on your laptop or on your machine.
I do both sometimes. So because right now where we are with the technology,
Yeah.
the and I think it's kind of always going to be like this to an extent, but it's going to keep getting better. But I use mostly the cloud hosted stuff, so like Chat GPT and all the other ones. But when I need something that either can't be done in the
Yeah.
platforms because they don't have that feature, but it's available open source or whatever, or if it's too expensive, I'll do it locally. So, for example, I run something called, I use a few different, uh, what do you call it? I use a few different applications that I run on my computer that I usually alternate between depending on what I need to use. So I use one called Pinocchio, which is like um it's like a marketplace, but it specializes in AI applications. So certain things like if you want to download a program that's specially designed to generate images or video, they have different apps for that. If you want to do something that's mainly just for generating like voices or sounds, they have applications for that. And if you want something that's for like LLMs to generate like text and code and stuff like that, they have different applications for that. And they also have agents as well, which is, we can get into that a little bit later, but agents is something that's also very, very powerful that not many people are using yet, but you you really should be, because you can do some crazy things now. But I use that, and I use something called browser use, which is like a web search agent,
Yeah.
and you can tell it to like just go and do some trivial task for you, like go and search for this product and then put it in your card and buy it, or you can even have it go and do research for you. And I know ChatGPT has deep research, and the other services has it too, where you could just, if you have like a very complex task that you wanted to do research for you on, So, for
Yeah.
example, let's say I don't know, you're trying to look for some type of material that you want to use to 3D print something, right? But you're not sure which one does has this characteristic that's best for whatever you're trying to print. So you could give it a series of requirements and parameters that you want for it to look for you to get the best result. And then it will go off and do the search over a period of time. Sometimes it could be 2 minutes, uh, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. It just depends on the complexity of the task. And then it'll go and look through like hundreds of different sources and then come back with the compilation of all this information. And sometimes it could output like pages of text. Like I've seen some people say that they've used it and they get like almost like professional reports, like 15-page long report style um, outputs back. And you can do so much more with that. But I sometimes use that for stuff like that as well. And then I also use Open Web UI, which is it's sort of the best way I can explain it. It's like a local version of ChatGPT, kind of. So it has the same web interface that you're used to with ChatGPT. It even looks very similar to it. It has the text field, and if you have any local models stored in your computer, you can use those. And you can even run multiple models at the same time. So you could you could give it a prompt and you could have one model output one response and then the other model output another response, and you can use the best of both worlds of whatever model is particularly best at and sort of get a better output from that. But you can also give it knowledge. You can have, like, let's say you have an entire project folder with different documents and images or whatever information you need to give it to those models. You could just put it all in there with no storage limit. Some of these platforms have storage limits since they can only store so much information in the cloud. But if you have the storage on your computer, you could put that all in there. And there's a lot more that you could do on there too. Like it also has the voice mode. It's not as good as ChatGPT's yet, but you
Yeah.
have that. Um, but it's basically like a an open source local version of ChatGPT. And if I was to go into what you could do with it, it would probably be all day. But that's a good example of that. And what else do I use? Um, I use a bunch of like other sort of just ambiguous applications. Like whenever there's something that I can't use online or it's too expensive, then I download it because I have a pretty decent GPU that can run a lot of these things. So it's just why not? But right now, I think it's best if you sort of just use the online services if you need the power. And then if there's something specific that the online services can't do or that it's not necessarily good for your use case, then you go offline. I think that's how I would say you should do it. But you know, I don't know, have you ever ran anything locally on your own computer?
No, no, mine can't.
Oh,
It will die. It will die. It will die. It will
it'll
crash.
die. Yeah. You definitely
But
you need a GPU.
yeah, 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 I've been planning to see if I don't know if I can be able to build one or I'll have to buy. But I see buying locally is a little bit.
Yeah, right now it's not a good time because the prices are way too crazy.
Uh,
The prices are even here in America. It's if you see what the GPU market is like,
yeah,
they're releasing graphics cards that are like that they shouldn't be, and they're super overpriced too. Like if you know anything about like the VRAM and the GPUs and stuff like that, when it comes to AI, VRAM is very important. If anything,
Uh,
it's like the most important thing of the GPU when it comes to running any type of AI workloads. And they're still releasing GPUs that have 8 gigs of VRAM when some people were saying that that was like outdated maybe like a few years ago. And they're releasing 8 gigs of VRAM and GPUs that are like $400 or $500 when like maybe 5 years ago you could find one of very similar performance level for like $300. So like the whole market is out of whack. And then the more VRAM you need, the price like almost triples or like doubles and triples. Like if you look at the some of the best GPUs that you could get right now, I would say are probably 16. They have like 16 gigs of VRAM up to like 24.
but
Those are like
six,
the best.
but
But
16 is expensive.
yeah, yeah, and I know. And really, your only option when you're running AI on your computer is NVIDIA. Because AMD, even though you can do some things on AMD,
Yeah.
their stuff it's hit and miss. You're not always gonna get the same performance that you get with NVIDIA. But with NVIDIA, they sort of monopolize that part of the market because they have a proprietary ownership of CUDA architecture, which is one reason why AI models are so good on NVIDIA cards compared to others. But they have like a wide range of options of GPUs that you could get. It's just that the price is too high. And then with NVIDIA, they really only put the higher VRAM counts on their more expensive graphics cards. So if you want 16 gigs of VRAM, you're looking at maybe $500 to $700. And then if you want even more than that, you're looking at close to $900 plus. Yeah.
Nine, that is 900. Like that is if I go for like the latest graphic card, which is so the RTX 5090. But then we have ID around. That is
Oh,
if I go for the latest like 5090 or even the even 30 or even 3090 can 3070 can do. I
I
mean
have a 3070 right now. It can do a lot still, even with 8 gigs of VRAM. But really, even I've been looking to upgrade because I do a lot of stuff with AI on my computer. So yeah, I need more VRAM too. And I've actually been thinking of adding a second GPU onto my computer, so running two at the
yeah,
same time. Because when you're running a lot of these AI applications, they can actually stack and combine the VRAM together. And so you don't have to. That's how some of these servers actually work. But they have like they do it in mass, so they have tons of GPUs. But it's actually so bad now that I don't know if you've seen, but some of these like Chinese factories, they've
mm,
actually been modding older graphics cards. So what they would do is they would take something like a 2080 Ti, which is still all right. Actually, a 2080 Ti is very similar to a 3070 in terms of
yeah.
power, but it only has, I think, 12 gigs of VRAM. So what they've been doing is they've actually been adding more VRAM onto it. So they would take the 12 gigs and they would make it 24. Or I think some GPUs with a little bit more have like 32 gigs of VRAM. And you can actually end up paying a little less than what it would be if you bought something like a 5090 or a 5080 or something. And what's good about that is that you don't have to so much break the bank just to get a little bit more performance for running AI. Because sometimes people aren't using their graphics cards for gaming, right? I happen to use it
Mm.
for both, but sometimes you just want to buy it to do this specific thing, and you have to pay like twice or three times as much just because of that. So yeah, the prices are crazy, and I don't think I'd want to spend like 2,000 on a graphics card unless it was actually making me money at that point, like really quick returns or something.
Yeah, I think 2000 is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think that's one thing about the industry that actually needs to improve, because a lot of people, especially in like professional industries, don't use AI as much, even though they might want to, but they don't use it because there's some security issues. Because there's been instances where the models would unintentionally just verbatim give information out, like sensitive information from other companies, just from some random interaction on like some completely unrelated user to that company, and it would just give out the information. Now, I haven't really heard of anything like that happening recently, but
Yeah.
it does happen. It's possible. And especially with stuff like jailbreaking, you can easily get it to tell you what you want for it to tell you. But as far as like the actual hardware to run some of this stuff locally, it's not quite there yet to be as good as the stuff that you can just get online. That's the one downside about local. But I think maybe in like a year or two, I think we'll have models that are as good as the best models now that you could run on your own machine. I just think that the whole hardware issue that we're having right now doesn't help. Because I've been saying that we need to have, instead of them relying on GPUs
Hmm.
for AI stuff, they need to make a different type of card that's specifically designed for accelerating AI tasks. And that's the only thing that we don't really have yet, because it's so expensive to put all that stuff in the running graphics card when they can split it up, and then they can give people the option to, if they want a graphics card for gaming or other stuff, they can get that. And then if they want to add on top of that an AI card or an AI whatever they'll end up calling it, then you can add that on and buy that separately. But I think there's a whole reason why they probably don't do that, because they make so much money off of the AI market right now. They don't even, Nvidia used to mainly just be a gaming company, but because of AI over the past few years, they've completely pivoted. So they're more like an AI company now.
Yeah, right now they are the ones who are the lead when it comes to AI. There's a time even the CEO was saying that even if their competitors offer their chips at a low price, they still make like they, even if the competitor give you their chips for free, that they still like, I think you're saying that they still make a loss or something, because Nvidia has like a lot, like you're talking about CUDA, like they've built a lot of systems around their AI that it offers a lot of value for money. That's what he was saying. Unlike
Yeah, yeah,
competitors who don't have any supporting infrastructure, like they can give you the chip, but they are unable to give you the software and all that which comes with it. The producer saying that new gaming console adding AI chips, saying that new gaming consoles are adding AI chips. I think like this year, anything that's going to come out, it will be pro AI, even within
yeah,
laptops, everything.
yeah. It's already kind of like that. If they have what you call the tensor cores,
Yeah.
which I think pretty much all GPUs have this at this point, it can do AI. Now, whether it has the memory or not, that's a different story.
Hey,
Yeah,
let me bring in ID for a second. I think ID is around. ID, welcome, man. I know you want to roast Lloyd, but I'd not asked him about if he can join or not. But I think maybe we can plan with him on Friday. What do you think, ID? I can try to ask him on Friday. I don't know if
Can you hear
you're.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my mic was up. Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying I don't know if you're okay with if I ask him for you, I know you are ready. I think they should
Yeah, yeah,
be.
I'm always ready. I don't need to Google anything, bro.
I think they
Hey, I
should
had a
be.
question though. I didn't want to interrupt you guys talking about AI, but I had a question about AI as
Yeah.
far as the local like its ability to like once you get a certain version, it can only go up to a certain date. So I'm assuming there's versions that actually can go out real time and go to the internet. Am I correct in that? Like
Yeah,
and get like up
kind.
to date information.
Yeah, yeah. You can add stuff on and you can give it information with RAG, or you can get it to go search the internet. Yeah.
Okay, because I know some of the sometimes I see on certain versions it'll say as of a certain date. Like that's the cap. Anything beyond that, it doesn't include.
Yeah, because right now the models they still rely on training. So you at some point you have to stop training it.
I
Yeah.
think I think if you have it locally, you can train it with your own data if you have it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, you could do that too. You could fine tune it.
Say,
Yeah.
say,
But
say like for you, maybe say like for you, ID you work in a specific area and you have a lot of data in that area. So if you run it locally, you can try to train it on your data and make it to be more specific in what you do.
they're
But now
actually
see,
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Oh, yeah, there are some models. It's more of like a proof of concept. There isn't really any big models that uses this yet, but there are a couple that I've heard of that can actually train themselves.
oh,
But yeah, but it's not a full production thing yet, but I think we might see something like that within a couple years or so, where the models won't have to necessarily rely on being pre-trained as much. They can just train themselves based on new information that they get over time.
like new information or extrapolation of the current data.
No, like actual new information. So right now, you know
It means
how.
it will have to scrap like that on the internet. Or how does it
Mhm.
get new information or when you
So
input?
okay, so you know how these models have different parameter types, right? So you have some of that are like very small, like 3 billion. And then you have like the really big ones like Chat GPT that have hundreds of billions of parameters.
Yeah.
So what this model does is it essentially takes the information that it gets, whether it's from uh, interactions in the chat, so user prompts, um, information from RAG, like data files or whatever you give it, and then
Mm.
information it might pull from the internet. And it takes that information and it sort of compiles it and reconfigures its own parameters to most efficiently give out the best response the next time you prompt it, or the next time it needs to do something. So that's how it works. But there aren't really that many models that could do this yet. There's only like a couple that I've read about.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like this stuff is advancing really fast. I even heard earlier today I was just watching a video on a new technique that they've come up with, very similar to what how I was talking about earlier, the test time training, the thinking ability. Um, Also this what they call it, training time scaling, which is the same thing as it being able to train itself. And then there's a new thing that's coming about from some recent research called sleep time scaling, where essentially the models they're like sort of like in a temporary state. So they don't actually do anything unless they're being prompted or they're being called, because there's some autonomous systems like agentic systems that can allow the model to keep doing things on its own, but eventually at some point it will stop. It'll have to stop doing that. But what this does is when it's in a state where it's not actively being used by anything,
Yeah.
it will. use that time to store the information that it already has. So the next time you prompt it, let's say you have a question that you asked it before, but you want to ask it again to make sure you get the answer back, like you remembered it correctly or whatever. Instead of it having to go back and infer the information a second time or a third time or whatever, or having to go through all that time thinking, because sometimes these models can think for like minutes at a time, when sometimes you know what the answer is, so you just want it back at that moment because it already should know it. It'll be able to just give you that answer without having to go through all those steps all over again. And it's supposed to help it be more efficient and make it so that it has something that's closer to like a memory, like what we have. 'Cause some of these systems, they don't really have memory like what we like typically think memory is. Because you
Mm.
know the models have a context window, so they have a certain amount of data that they could sort of call back upon to throughout the entire chat or prompt or whatever the data is that you're trying to use the model to interact with. And after it gets over that context window, it tends to hallucinate more. It forgets what you told it, or it just won't be able to do certain things. But the context window has been getting bigger over time. Like the standard, I remember when I first used ChatGPT, which is like a few years ago. I think it was GPT 3.5 Turbo, and that had a context window of like 4,000. And at the time, I mean, that's really small. You could only do like maybe a handful of prompts, and then it would just forget like basic stuff you tell it. And at the time, I mean, these models, they weren't even that good at programming back then either, in math and stuff like that. But they
Mm.
were good enough. They were good at certain things like correcting, you know, a paragraph in a paper or something. But yeah, that was really small. You couldn't do much with it. And then within like a couple months when they released 4, um they doubled it. So it went up to 8,000. At the time I was like, "Oh man, this is so much. Like you could do like so much more," but it really wasn't. Like you could give it a couple like documents here and there to like help you with things, but it wasn't that much. But now we have models that are like 128,000, which is like the standard now, but I think that's going to change real soon. And Google Gemini goes up to like a million. And on top of that, with Google Gemini, you can like generalize between like video data, audio data as well. So it's not just text input or images anymore. But yeah, the context window is like a huge limitation. Even with like a million context, and before they actually had a 2 million context window, but they removed it for some reason. They claim they're going to add it back soon, so you'll have even more context. But you're always going to run out of context because let's say you have something that's constantly evolving, you're always getting more information, right? So you're not going to just be able to like keep giving it that information without it forgetting eventually.
Yeah.
So there's ways that we've gotten around this to sort of give the models something like a memory. Like ChatGPT actually has the ability now to remember all of your previous chats and remember certain things that you explicitly tell it to remember. They just added this like a couple weeks ago, and I tested it and it does work. Memory has been around for like a year, maybe a year and a half. So
I
it's
think
been around.
it's for paid versions.
No, it's actually for the free version. The
Oh,
so I think there's two types of memory that they have. So there's the chat recall, like I was telling you, and they have the basic memory, where if you're on the free version, you can actually use the basic memory where, let's say you wanted to remember that you need to buy like some groceries, like some specific groceries tomorrow or whatever. You
yeah.
We'll tell it what you want to remember, and then it'll remember that. And then you ask it the next day, it's like, oh, what were the things that I said I needed? And then it will tell you exactly verbatim because you told it what you wanted to remember. So it put that away. But now I think in the paid version and plus, I think the new chat memorization feature where it can actually remember like your maybe I don't think it's the entire chat, but it's certain context of the chats. And I've tested it a bit and it does work. So for example, I've used O3 quite a bit for like the past couple weeks since it's been out. And it's actually a really surprisingly good model. Like I was surprised how well it did because for a while before that came out, I was using Gemini 2.5 Pro,
Mhm.
and they're very similar in terms of performance. Like if you go back and forth between the two, you could barely tell the difference because that's how good they both are. But when I used O3, it did something that Gemini didn't do because I'm actually working on another project on top of the robotics project that I'm doing, and I'm building an application for VR devices. Right now it's VR. I'm thinking of maybe expanding it to other devices in the future. But it's a VR application where you can essentially have a server running on your machine and you can talk to your AI model or whatever application you're running from your headset to your server that you're running,
Yeah.
and it would be able to use the pass through camera that's on the headset to allow the model to see what you're seeing in real time. And let's say you're working on some kind of DIY project. So, for example, let's say I'm working on a 3D model and I have a print out. I have a prototype print that I printed, but it didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to. And I want to improve something about it, like the structure or certain dimensions, and I could show it what I'm looking at, and I can ask it, okay, here's what it is, but it's not really performing this way, or it's bending wrong this way, and it's breaking when it shouldn't be breaking like this. Do you have any ideas on how we could improve the structure of this? So what it could do is it could output you from the server, it'll send over to the headset like some type of image or even maybe a 3D model that it would output in your field of view in that physical space. And you would be able to interact with it. And it would show you, okay, maybe it should look like this. And here's the dimensions of it. And you can talk back and forth and iterate on stuff like that, sort of in real time, like a CAD program, but like a next generation CAD program, kind of like you've seen the Iron Man movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, those scenes when Tony Stark is like, he's talking to his AI and he's working with the holograms and he's like prototyping like his next suit design or whatever, and he's like interacting with the model shapes and it's like in a holographic form, sort of. It's kind of like
Yeah.
that, but for a VR headset, sort of. But I'm working on something like that, and I'm using AI to actually help not only help me build it using agents, but basically it's AI building like an AI platform essentially. But yeah, there's all sorts of like unique ways that you can
So
use
so
this.
when it comes to, if you try to bring in ID in, when it comes to now doing research with it, like how Lloyd was doing, do you believe maybe you will get more better results when you do it locally, or still if he runs it but a paid version the results are better? And before you answer, there's this song which Pierre Scamchan had shared. He wants me to play it, and let me play it for a minute as you answer. There's a video which he did today. I don't know if you think that is a paid version or it was a free version. We say that he uploaded the video to ChatGPT, then the video listened and it gave its answer. I don't know if you've seen
Wait,
it
so
or
we're
not.
using ChatGPT for reviews now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's what you're saying. But before you come in, let me play Scam Chance Wizard song. You listen to it, you see. I think it's still an instrument or what. Let me play. But I see Scam Chan has a certain taste of music. I see it's version 4, version 3.5. Scam Chan, you seem to have a certain. You're saying that you're confused. Yeah, this is still the same thing, the second
I
part, but it sounds different.
I've used Udio to. I haven't actually used Suno to generate music myself, but I've heard comparisons between both of the platforms, and I've made a few different types of genres myself. I've made like orchestral, like cinematic style, and
Yeah.
then I've also made like electronic style, sort of like this. But I can already tell you right off the back that I think it took me maybe a good 20 minutes, an hour to get like exactly what I wanted. And then I actually eventually came back a year later and changed some things a little bit, but Udio still sounds better overall.
Then
Yeah.
Suno.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let's come to ID. ID, you're saying that you're using to do reviews. Yeah, I think what he was doing. Have you seen the video for this Supersonic? The video that ID is talking about.
I don't recall a video of that nature.
Which one?
No, I'm asking for this Supersonic if you've seen the video of Lloyd's Tover where he tries to explain to ID. I mean, he tries to explain what ID is
Oh,
criticizing
his
him,
his last his last video?
and he uses AI.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was
ID,
hilarious. He
have you
ran
seen it
straight
for
to
this
Chat
Supersonic?
GPT. I did watch it. I don't know if Supersonic saw it. He probably did if he subbed.
For this
Wait,
Supersonic,
which one?
the last video
Lloyd
that
Lloyd's last video.
he posted today.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it includes Chat GPT.
Yeah, I know he uses ChatGPT.
Well, apparently he listens to everything I say and throw it at Chat GPT, and then reports the response from Chat GPT. which is
Yeah.
kind of the reason why I'm like as I said earlier, Chris. That's my issue. Like I know ChatGPT is going to be part of the future. It is what it is, but
Yeah.
it also opens up Pandora's box of I'm sure you guys heard of the term Dunning Kruger effect, where you think you know a little bit about a lot of things, and then come to find out you don't know much. But because you have the backing of something like ChatGPT, you assume that you have that knowledge, but you really don't. And then you walk into spaces as if you do. And this is why academia it's an issue. This is why in professional institutions it's an issue because yeah, of course, security. I think Supersonic said that one. Security could be an issue, but also too, it just like the music. It's interesting because it removes you if you depend on it so heavily. I understand to use it for tasks. I'm okay, using it for tasks, but to be the creator, then
Yeah. For
what
the
am like? What am I listening to you for then? You're not bringing anything. That's
for
my issue with it.
for the music, you are saying that you can use it for music composition. Let's say like how we usually generate instrumentals right now. People who don't play guitars and all that. You have guitars already as a plugin already. You
Mhm.
have every instrument is already as a plugin. You just play around with it and you come up with something. So it's the same thing with what AI is doing. Just instead of now you pressing, it's the AI which is now pressing the codes and doing the course progression. But now when it comes to maybe singing and creating lyrics, now that's a different area where we were saying that we can make it to be in such a way that a person or a musicians, you come up with your own lyrics, then you put in AI, it can generate like 4 or 5 or 6 different types of melodies. Then you look at it and see which one works best or people will love best. Then you go in studio and you sing it with your own touch, all that. I think it's the same thing with now.
Well, I think we're getting to the point where people are going to start using it as the source. Because if it can sing, it probably can sing better than the average person. If it can rap, it could probably rap better than the average person. Like over time, it's only going to get better. That's
Yeah,
as it learns.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is now you can even put in your voice and it sings with your voice.
You're going to
Actually,
have a better version of you.
yes, actually, Suno can do that. You can put in your voice and it sings with your voice. So, yeah, but that's the future that we're going to, and it makes it easier. Think of it like
Mhm.
you're making like, I don't know, 10 or so or 100 songs in a day within a few hours, just
Again,
as a few prompts.
I'm championing the idea of using it to save time. I'm okay with that side of it. It's the um what's the word I want to use? The arrogance that some people come with it. Like, wait
Mm,
a minute, you don't know what you're saying. And this is not just about Lloyd. We don't have to go with Lloyd. Just in general, if anybody's talking about the spaces like music, I guarantee you someone who actually plays the instrument is going to say there's something off about it, probably. Because they just they know the music. They know but can ChatGPT or any of these AI tools replicate? Yeah, it can replicate. But at some point, like is are we going to be flooded with all AI music and AI generated internet content and AI generated? Is that what we're headed towards? Like there's no stopping it at this point. I don't even know how you even wrangle it in. It's going to grow to be what it's going to be. My fear is in my space, in the tech space. I
yeah,
think that separation is going to happen between the ones who know how to use AI and the ones who know when not to. Because there are times where you should not depend on the chat GBT or any AI tool as the end all be all answer. That's the danger. Most people don't know. They think it's one if it says it, then it's true. No, not necessarily. You got to know
Yeah.
where it's pulling its information from. You don't know
Yeah.
where to, unless you dig deep into that. But how many people are doing that really? Like, unless you really want to find the answer to your question, or you're trying to find an answer because ChatGPT will cater to how you're asking it. It will cater to how you're asking it or what you're asking it to do. It's very subtle in how it gives you what you want. Like, and probably Supersonic knows what I'm trying to say here, but that to me is the downside of it. You're gonna have too many people walking into spaces they shouldn't, and that's science. I can only speak for science and just the industry of that. Like, just and as a parallel, when I was in college, this was the same scenario when Google started showing up as resources for some term papers and thesis defenses in college. The universities were like, no, 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 that's the internet. You can't just trust it just because it came from the internet. That's just an article. We need peer reviewed articles. We need something that's been vetted by people who actually know the science. We need that as a resource, not a Google search. And at this point, it's a Chat GPT search. So, so yeah, so it's going to be a while before we kind of settle down with something. But
Yeah, I I I agree to an extent, but I think there's always like that that counter argument where you could say, if you look at it from both extreme examples, right? You're obviously going to have people that overly rely on AI, right? And then you're going to have
shout
people
out to
that just
Lloyd.
won't use it all. Um, that just don't use it at all because, or one reason or another, they think it's uh, not accurate enough, or they think it's not human enough, or something like that. But then you always have the middle ground where you have people who, sort of like what you're saying, where you have people who know how to use it and the people who know when they need to use their own, step back and use their own critical thinking to use the AI to help solve the problem, kind of. And I think sort of that's where the argument sort of diverges a little bit, because I feel like people are still seeing AI as like um sort of that antagonist where it's it's there to sort of stop like a current like paradigm that's going on right now, and that it has really almost no other benefits. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but you have a lot of people that are kind of thinking like that's what AI is, but they're not seeing how it's no different than your phone or the internet or a car or something like the printing press. um it's just a tool that might take an evolved form of how we used to do certain things, but spins it on its head and makes it better in others. um because there's some things that people can't do that even without AI, computers have always been able to do better than us. Like, for example, uh computers can process information billions of times faster than we can. I mean, if you try to calculate some advanced mathematical theorem in your head, y- most people can't do that. It would, and if anything, it would take them minutes, maybe hours to try to figure out the answer. A computer could spit that answer out in probably a minute, you know, maybe even less than that. And that's one thing that computers have always been good at, and a person will just never be able to beat that. Now, obviously, we could beat it in other ways, of course. But up until now, computers didn't really have actual intelligence like we do. But now we're starting to cross that line where it's almost like we're sort of making a synthetic species, kind of, if you think about it. We're heading to that point. Um, but it's yeah, I think there will be some people who over rely on it, but I just think that it shouldn't stop the progression of, and I don't think it will, but it shouldn't
no,
stop the
it never will
progression of,
stop. It's not
yeah,
stopping at
yeah.
all.
I mean, it shouldn't stop people from learning about it, learning how to use it, using it themselves. Because I still, you still don't know how many people don't really know what AI can do. Like even some of the more advanced and experienced people, because the field is advancing like so fast. It's like exponentially increasing. And some people were saying like a while back, like months ago, that even that rate of increase is increasing, so the acceleration is exponentially increasing too. And like stuff is changing so fast because it's like at a point where you get one model 1 week, right? And then the next model is like someone else releases a model that's like two times better at this. That happened with like DeepSeek R1 when that came out a few months back, and some other things. So things are moving so fast that like no one person can really keep up with it. And
Yeah.
even before, it was kind of like the field has always been a ambiguous kind of thing where no one is really fully understanding how the technology is working, because a lot of these models are basically black boxes. You can't just reach in and see exactly what it's doing, but you can kind of infer based on your input and your output. But it's still
But
with yeah. Go ahead.
here's the kind of the like the parallel, not parallel, but actually doubling down with what you just said, and kind of reiterate what I said earlier of AI does not remove your responsibility to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Does not. And some people don't know this. Like you can tell the ones who don't realize. As an example, like you said, yes, it can compute mathematics and all that other stuff like lightning speed. What's the integral of x squared dx? Oh, x cubed over 3 plus some constant. I know that because I've done the math. But if it gives me x to the fourth plus 4, how will I know if that's wrong? I would need to know what the answer is, or at least what it should be, or close to it, in order to identify whether or not AI gave me the right answer. And odds are it should give you the right answer, for that's a simple one. But the fact that I need to know when to deviate, like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. How do you get that without learning? You can't. You
I'd
still have to
argue.
learn.
I agree. I agree. You should always be learning. Like I pretty much, when I was still in school, I remember my instructor. He was saying how I'm kind of like a lifelong learner, because I'm always learning all sorts of stuff, even when I'm not actively working on anything. I'm just an inquisitive type person. I just always want to know about stuff. But you should always be learning about things. But um what was I
I
saying? Oh
think
yeah. But
I think what
I
I think what idea was saying is more like you need to use AI in your field or in your area of studies where you know if it gives you a certain reply, like you have more knowledge in that sector, in that field,
oh
not
yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
something that's out of your boundary where you're not sure, where you just have to trust everything it says because you don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. But I was gonna say I have a counter argument to that where you don't always necessarily need to know exactly everything or some things about a problem to be able to solve it. For example, let's say you have a car, right? And
Hmm?
your car breaks down. And okay, so you're not a mechanic, right? You're just like an average user, and you're trying to get somewhere to work or something. Your car breaks down, and from that moment, you hear maybe some weird sounds, or you know you hear something burst, and maybe it's your tire that goes out, right? Um, or maybe you get some sound from the engine that signifies that it's some kind of problem under the hood that you might need to look at, even though you might not know exactly what's going on. Um, but there's ways that you can sort of derive your answer based on using your observational skills and critical thinking to arrive at the correct answer, even if you didn't really know how to completely get there by like maybe like some standard process, but you
Yeah.
got there from some other technique, right? That maybe you
The-
came up with on the fly, but it worked, right? And so let's say if you didn't know how to diagnose the problem completely, right? You didn't know if it was an oil leak, you didn't know how to change the tire out, right? So what do? You call a mechanic or something. You call someone who actually does know how to do that to get the problem solved. So like I was saying, how maybe if you can't solve it yourself, there's always going to be someone or something else, like a tool or something that can help you solve that problem.
You see,
So
yeah,
it's more of a
like uh,
nuance.
like I think people have an issue with AI right now because when it first came, it has a lot of issues and giving wrong answers. And usually, if you take a calculator, like right now, you use the traditional calculator, you might not be able to know the answer of maybe like let's say you're doing a multiplication of a very big value or any calculation on it. You don't know the answer, but you've learned to trust it because you know that every time it gives you the correct answer. So I think with AI we have not yet gotten to a point where you know that it is giving you the correct answer every time. And
Everything.
so it means if it's not, you're not doing it within your field, like you might use it wrongly and believe that it's giving you something right, but in reality maybe it's giving you something wrong, until maybe it
True.
gets in the hands of people who know how to check and see if like peer review, or that is when now they can tell you that you're doing this wrong, this is wrong, this
Yeah,
is wrong.
yeah, I agree. You should always have some kind of mechanism or some source to be able to verify your answer to make sure it's right. But I think one of the problem here is
Yeah,
that
but ChatGPT becomes that. That's what I was saying. It
yeah,
becomes that fallback plan. It's the front plan and the fallback plan. Let me ask it what I need to ask it and then accept whatever it tells me. And that's
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
that's scary. And certain and like in medicine, I would be like, ooh, like this is why you guys remember WebMD, right? I don't know if people use that anymore, but when
yeah,
WebMD first
I
got
know.
on the internet, and it's dangerous because it'll give you like these answers of, well, maybe you have gout and maybe you have this or maybe you have that, and anxiety comes with some of that because you start thinking, hey, maybe I do have that. Not even going to go see anybody in the profession to get you checked out because that's the danger of not knowing what you have in front of you. It's not to
Y-
be the doctor,
Yeah,
not to be that.
I see what you're saying, but sometimes it's because I get it. You have, like I was saying about the mechanic, you have, people who know their things that sometimes if you don't know the answer, you gotta go to, right? You gotta go to the mechanic, you gotta go to the doctor. But sometimes there comes some situations where even they might not know the answer. And so you have to figure it out some way. And I think like even, before AI, we've had the internet for, a while now, and people were still, even though it's not to the same extent, it was, you still had to go and search the information yourself. So it wasn't as easy as like a nearly instant response. But we still had the internet, we still had stuff like YouTube and whatnot. So it's almost no different. You're trying to use, your your skills, whatever skills you might have, or your observation, to try to figure out that answer. But I think that I'd say that sometimes with certain things, you can't always necessarily rely on the standard result, because sometimes the standard result isn't always going to give you the best answer, or the most
See,
efficient
when
work.
when
Like for
I think I think when
for-
when when GPT-3, it was 3.5 when it came out. Uh, I was using it a lot to do. I usually use it a lot also, but the free version. So there's an engineer who I met with. He's a mechanical engineer. He does things to do with. They do things to do with balancing. In terms of balancing, there was some calculation where you have to know like the type of material. But there was something that was supposed to calculate, and I showed him that you can be able to do this with AI, and it makes your calculation to be very easy and very quick. And
Yeah.
when we did with it, the result was wrong. Like there was some calculation where you're supposed to go on a certain table by SKF table, like it gives the bearings. It had to do with the bearings, where you're supposed to check the characteristics of the bearings. Then, depending on the bearing, you pick a certain number, you come and use that figure. Now, it had a problem with that, and it gave something close but wrong. But now, for him, he knows, and he was like,
Yeah.
"No, there's no way it can be this. Like once we have done it this way, it's supposed to be the value was supposed to be bigger and not smaller." So,
Knew that
like
through
he had
experience, right?
yeah, he knew that from
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So if it was for me, like I would have just gone with the
I
because
I have
I,
a it's funny you mentioned that because I have another good example. When I was in when I was in grade school, so before college. See, I haven't always been like I can do
Oh, wait
like
a
math
minute.
isn't.
Hold on. You went to college. You went to the Evil Institute.
Yeah, I did, but I did. I was in a few different things. Like actually, originally I started as a game developer, but I transitioned into computer programming, and then when I finished that, I went over into robotics because I had a change of interest at the time. Um, and that was probably the best decision I made because I had pivoted at the right time. This is like right around when COVID started and all the shutdowns started happening. But yeah, when I was in like around like grade school, I would say when I noticed my math skill was kind of just like sort of just average. It was maybe like middle school or whatever. But I can do like math, like college math and stuff like that. It's no problem. I can get a pen and paper out or a calculator, do the process, get the answer. Fine. Like almost anyone can do that if you understand how to do things in steps. Um, but I remember distinctly that there was times when if I didn't understand, a particular process, 'cause, when they're teaching you in class, they have to teach everyone at the same pace, the same techniques, and each teacher might have their own unique styles in teaching. So, it's impossible for every single student to get everything exactly the same. It's just not going to work like that. But I had times where it would come to the test and I had gaps in my knowledge that I just wasn't quite sure of, but it was test time. So I couldn't get any other information any other way. It was an open book. So I would devise in my head on the fly at that moment a way to try to figure out the way the answer would turn out to get the solution. And I literally had moments where somehow, I don't know, whatever technique I came up with, I got the answer right. But then the teacher would say the answer was wrong because I showed my work how I got there, but it wasn't the way that they showed how it was supposed to be done. So the answer was wrong, even though it was right. And it's like, okay, like that's one reason why I'm kind of like standards exist for a reason, but you can't always rely just on the standards either because things are always changing. But then back to what he was saying about the AI, how, back during GPT-3, because I was like a while ago, I was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago when
yeah,
GPT-3 was the thing. Um, back
it
then,
wasn't it
like
was it wasn't that long
most,
ago, but
yeah,
the
yeah.
way, like how it like once it gave that answer, actually that guy he has never tried it again. Actually, I was trying to convince him to be
Uh,
using it because the process of
was this
calculation.
recently? Was this recently?
It was somewhere last year. I think
Last year?
early,
Last year, last year.
early, early last year. Yeah, early
Mm,
last year.
yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, back
yeah,
then,
that
but
but that time it had a lot of hallucinations, and the thing it had
mhm.
when I tried to read on the internet, I found out that it has a lot of issues when it comes to engineering calculations, where you have to sometimes like those calculations where you have to input in a lot of things because there's something that you're also trying to do with somebody in terms of resizing. I usually do structure related things. We're trying to resize a column base, and like when you try to define it for the AI to be able to see that if you have a column base, you have like width, length, and all these sides. Now, if the width and the length are different, that time, yeah, if the width and the length are different, and we are trying to calculate the number of bars that you need to put in the column base, you call it the, I don't know how you guys call it, but you guys use a different American standard. It's different. So
Mm, um,
there's a way you
I know
call it.
what
I
you're
think you
talking
call it
about.
pad or something, pad footing or yeah. But now,
Oh, foot
in
pound,
terms,
foot pound,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
foot pound.
yeah. There's a way that you guys call it in American standard. So so like when you try to calculate with AI, like it was failing to understand that you have like different sides, and each side maybe each bar is measuring different length. You have maybe the horizontal, you have the vertical. Like that time it had a lot of issues when it comes to engineering calculations, but it gives you the answers and they are wrong answers. Now if you don't know what you're doing, you just take that as the right answer and you go ahead with it. I think that comes to the point what ID is talking about. Like, if it's more in the field where you're more versatile in, you are able to know if this is wrong or this is right.
Yeah,
So
But
yeah.
so let me real quick run down because I mean I'm not gonna dox myself, but understand that I when I realized my superpower, I didn't reject it, and my superpower turned out to be anything mathematical. So
yeah,
when I realized it, I was in college. And I was actually starting out my first couple years, and I realized that I do not break a sweat when it comes down to any math, even if it's math I've never seen. It's just calculations and manipulation and all of that. If I know the rules, I know how to manipulate, so I'm okay. To the point where in college, I did not take electives. You guys know what electives are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't take electives as typical electives like, sociology and all those other ones. I took math-based core course tracks when I was in school because I was so confident if it's math, I have no problem with it. So I didn't take typical stuff. I would take 3 straight terms of motor control, 3 straight terms of, matrix, manipulation and systems engineering, 3 straight of circuit design, 3 straight, courses in semiconductor physics, 3 straight everything I did was mathematics, and I aced damn near everything because it was math, right? Now, that's scary because I coulda turned out to be, somebody who couldn't speak to anybody because you don't learn like the soft skills in a math class, the soft skills of talking to people. Fortunately, I picked that up along the way. But so with my understanding of the physics. Oh, that forgot. I didn't mention that too. I actually took all the calculus classes, every one they had. I took all the physics courses, every one they had. And I started delving into so deep in, I started doing mathematical theory, which was that's a whole nother level. But yeah, that just no numbers, just symbols and integrals and summations, no numbers. That was a wild ride. But I'm saying that to say this if I'm speaking about something very passionate, I'm very passionate, obviously, about the sciences. More in particular, when it comes to things like semiconductors, anything related to semiconductors. I still remember a triple integral I did maybe 15, 20 years ago. I can do them right now because I studied so hard to learn it. I overshot. I did. I overshot. And now I can't unlearn some of the stuff that I still remember. So when I hear someone speak on certain things that I know, that's a very complex thing that you're trying to simplify. Not everything can be simplified so easily. I know ChatGPT simplifies a lot of complex things, but when it does, it leaves out very pertinent pieces of information that could change how you see it. And that's why I say the learning is on us. It's on the people who actually is trying to use these tools. You cannot stop, you know, focusing on just what it gives you. You still have to know where that came from. You cannot just lean on that in sciences in particular. Music
Yeah,
might be
of
different.
course.
Music could be different. Art, especially anything art. That's all abstract type. Yeah, that's different. That's I'm talking specifically scientifically based, mathematically calculated. Those type fields are very specific with very specific models that depend on empirical data. Like it has a history behind it. It's not a guess. It has a history behind it. But in order to fully understand it, it's going to have to go way beyond high school math. Unless you've taken, physics and calculus and yeah, differential equations, matrix manipulation, all the mathematics that happens behind the scenes on a computer, some people understand what it's doing. So when it spits out a wrong answer, they know. They like, wait a minute, that's off. That doesn't
Yeah,
look right.
yeah,
Let
yeah.
me go look that up. Let me go see how it came up with that answer because I don't think that's right. You don't get that inflection when you don't have that history, that buffer of knowledge. You can't. So I feel like this is why I teach the kids when I'm teaching the kids. You gotta know it's still on you to know this. Don't depend 100% on what it gives you because you can't stop learning. And these kids are really, really easy to jump on the easy path. The easy path is beautiful to some of these young kids. They love the easy way out. So
True,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead. Go ahead.
think actually I was gonna bring up one other example. It's sort of the inverse of what Chris was saying. That one example where the guy he was using GPT 03 or something. I don't even think it was 03 mini out back then. But he was using one of the older models and yeah,
Because
3.5. That was like really old if it was like a year ago. Cuz that was like old a couple years ago. But yeah, I when as soon as Deep Seek R1 came out, um they had distilled versions of the models and distilled versions are essentially like also called you could also call them quantized, although they're a bit different, but it's essentially the bigger model teaching the smaller models how to work through whatever problems that it was trained on. And when they're training these models, they essentially train them to work under smaller parameters. So you will have, for example, DeepSeek R1 that's based on Llama 3 or that's based on Quinn. And these are like different sort of sub models that are trained by that larger model to be more efficient at a smaller size. And what these allow you to do is basically run them on lesser powerful machines, much like the other models as well. And the first thing I did was when I think which version was it that I downloaded? It was 14B. And that's about the threshold I think that my GPU can run at a reasonable speed. And it took the model maybe an hour to think on this problem. Mostly because my GPU was still very slow and the thinking models use a lot more compute power. But they tend to output a lot of information really fast when they're thinking. And as I was saying before, how you can see through the entire chain of thought and how it actually arrived at its answer throughout the entire process. And the question I gave it was a answer of spatial positioning, where I asked it if you were on the equator and you. Well, this is like a rough summarization of how I asked it, but it was a pretty simple prompt. But it was basically if you were on the equator, you went north, then you turned left, I think I said like 90 degrees left or something like that. And then I asked it, if you did that, would you ever, and you kept walking until you covered the entire globe, would you ever go back to your original starting position? And originally, when I asked it this question, it was thinking for a long time because sometimes these models, especially the ones that are cloud hosted, they don't, for something like this, is actually relatively simple for the newer models to answer now. They can answer it in maybe like 20 seconds. But when I originally asked it, I thought it was stuck because it thought longer than it should have. It was like usually even on my GPU it should maybe take 5, 10 minutes for it to think. But I waited like 15, 20 minutes and it was still going, so I thought maybe it was stuck. So I just stopped it and I actually came back to my computer later that day and the app, it was still up, it was still running, and I saw that it had finished. I was like, oh wait, what? It was still going and it said it was going for an hour. So I checked the answer and the answer was actually correct. And I was like, whoa, it actually got it correct. And I went back and looked through the chain of thought and it said it would never be able to get to its original starting position, by the way. And I looked
I
back
was
through
going to
it to
ask.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I looked back through it to see how it actually got to that answer, and it was I don't even know, like several pages, but I read through like most of the relevant bits because sometimes it's thinking and it's going back and forth like, oh well, it does some math and it's like, well, maybe that's not correct, and then it goes back, then it goes, well, okay, all this does this. If that's the right answer, then all this before was incorrect. So it goes back and it's kind of going back and forth on itself till it gets the right answer. But I saw towards the end that it was it was thinking the opposite of the direction that I was telling it to go. I told it to go left, but it was thinking to go to the right. But yet, it, even though it was incorrect how it actually got to the answer, it still actually ended up getting the correct answer at the end. So that was kind of like how an example of how I was saying, where you don't necessarily need to know the exact process of something to get to the correct answer, but as long as you sort of understand how you got there, I mean, if the answer is correct, it's correct. Now, whether it's exact, you can always go back and verify, you know. But I was going to mention how where with people, I kind of forgot because you made a good point that earlier when you were talking, and I kind of forgot exactly, but you're saying something about how like some of the, like newer kids, they sort of just expect to just jump to
They want the
chat
easy
GPT,
way
stuff like
out.
that. Yeah, 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 the easy way. I mean, you're always gonna get people who want it easy. I mean, as people, I kind of, we everyone naturally just wants the most optimal solution, the easiest path. I think that's just normal. But I think, like
And you
you're
see,
saying,
for this
yeah,
person, you see, like your case when you did ask that question. Alex, by the way, welcome. I see you've come today. Welcome. And today is not Sunday, but welcome. So, like your case, you're saying you had an answer already. You knew the answer, uh, that it was, this was the answer. So, if it gave you something wrong, you will have known it was wrong. So,
correct,
the
yeah.
issue, yeah, so the main issue with AI right now is you have to know the answer, which is something that Ciel was saying,
Ac-
that if
Actually,
you're ready, wait first before you jump in,
okay.
something which Ciel was saying. Ciel is usually from Germany. He was saying that, let me get this mini, but what he was saying is, if you already know the answer, why do you need AI? Which I think again plays to the thing where most people say that you don't need AI right now. I think it's a tool which can help you with some things. If you're doing mathematics, it can help you with some computation to make it easier or quicker, to make some things to be quicker for you. But it is not at a point where you can rely on it 100% that is going to give you the right answer to what you have.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, um, what I was going to say, there is uh lost my train of thought. So okay, there actually is a method that you could use to basically when you're if even if you do know the answer, right? Or if you don't know the answer, I mean, um you actually can use the certain models that can actually help teach you certain things that you might not know about whatever this thing is that you're trying to get an answer to. A good example would be um because I actually do this occasionally when there's something that okay, here's a good example. So back when I was saying how I was working on this VR application, right?
Hmm.
I I used to work with different game engines in the past, mainly Unreal Engine, and I did use Unity before, but it was like a long time ago. Actually, back when I was taking game development as a major, I that was my first time using Unity, but I had only used it like a little bit, and I don't really know much about Unity. Heck, even barely Unreal Engine now because it's changed a lot since I last used it. It's been years, but so I have a general understanding of how the engines work, right? And I know different processes in game development to the point to where even if I don't know it um a lot, I can sort of take what I understand about it, even if it's a little bit, and I can figure out what I need from there. And so what I do when I'm using this app to or I'm using AI to help me develop this app, I'm using agents. And one reason why I use agents is because we are at the point now to where the models are pretty reliable. They're reliable enough to where if you need something done, it will usually do it on the first try. And if it doesn't get it on the first try, you can work with it a little bit, a few prompts here and there, and it'll eventually arrive at the correct answer or the correct result, whatever you want. So for example, with this application, I use an IDE called VS Code. And within VS Code, I'm using extensions that allow you to use different LLMs. So it can be any that it supports, but they have like all of the different ones. They have the Google ones, the OpenAI ones, Claude. They even have some open source ones, DeepSeek and such. And you could choose whichever model you want. Some of these are free, like they have free API use where you don't even have to pay anything at all. Like when I'm building this, I've only spent like maybe $2 out of
But
maybe a few hours of work on this
mm,
project so far, and different things too because I've done different things. Like I'm working before this, I was working on a circuit simulation that was originally I wanted to see if it could do this. So I gave it a prompt. I wanted it to essentially make a 3D representation of a jewel thief circuit. And I gave it the prompt, and in the first try, it only took it like maybe a minute, or I think it was like maybe a couple minutes or such, maybe five or so, and it got it right exactly first try, and it was in full 3D. It uses something called 3JS, which is like a 3D component of JavaScript, I believe. Um, but yeah, so it can do very complicated, sophisticated things now, like almost 100% every time. Well, maybe not 100%, but a very high degree of success.
I think
And
it's
yeah,
getting, like, let's say it's getting better with time. With each released model, it gets better and better, but still, yeah, it's getting better, but still I think it has not earned trust of a lot of people when it comes to especially doing the calculations. I know for programming most people are using it for building apps and
building. Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
I hear
see,
for programming it's very accurate actually in generating code.
programming. Yeah, it is. It is. And what's important about that is because, see, a lot of people think that because LLMs are, large language models, that they only understand language and they're only predicting, this under the foundation of language. But people don't realize is that so many things underpin the construct of what language is. And
Okay.
when you can define different things under a language, and it doesn't even have to be any specific one. It could be English, it could be Japanese, it could be Arabic, it could be whatever you want. um when you can do this, then you can put and you can abstract almost anything into a specific, well defined output. And another thing too is that, computers basically understand their own language. At first it started as binary, ones and zeros, off and on. But then over time we developed, high level languages like C++, C sharp, um, all these other, older ones, Ruby, stuff like that. Um, and we designed these simply so we can sort of interact with the machines in a way that we can understand most easily, but they can still get the most efficient output from what we're trying to give to it, right? And so over time, that's why we develop these programming languages, right? But now with these models also being able to understand programming and all these other human languages too,
Mm.
um, they can pretty much do almost anything you tell it to, because now we're doing essentially what computers were always designed to do. They're always designed to do what you tell it, exactly how you tell it, using natural language. And
I think
because
that,
they didn't have intelligence behind it, they couldn't really do that as efficiently without having to build all of those frameworks. But now with LLMs, with neural networks and such, now we're pretty much already at this point that we could do that. And
I,
with the
yeah,
yeah, and with
I was
programming. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I was saying I think I'll try it. But first, before I go in, let me answer this first. Alex said we don't have Lloyd today. We had not talked to him before we came in.
He's
I
probably
have
not
not.
going to come up if he sees me up here.
And a brother of a certain age, welcome. I was asking, was he in one of the audio that you did with Lloyd? Was he?
No, brother of a certain age. I know him from other spaces. Cool brother. That very down to earth. So I sent out the bat signal, as he said. I did send out the link to my
Oh,
community to let them know I was over here. So you might get some people that you've never seen before pop in and out.
yeah, I have been seeing. I think today, today we're not heated up. We heated up like, although Fridays are not usually good days. I think Wednesdays,
Yeah,
I saw
I
Wednesdays.
sent the link out to Stargate too. She
Uh,
supports whatever I do, so she might stop in if she has time.
no problem. So if I come back to 14 Supersonic, what I was saying is maybe I'll go again and try to do the other things like what we tried with the other guy with the latest model. But the
Hmm.
issue with the model had what I've remembered is you are supposed to go and like there's these tables, especially if you're doing those sort of engineering calculations where you're supposed to read certain figures from tables, and this table was not
Oh,
specific, like you're going to pick a specific value. You're supposed to see within a certain range. Within a certain range you have like within a certain, like when you have a certain metal of a certain property, it falls within certain range. So that certain range you have like two or three figures. Now usually with the mind you have to see which one falls closer to which side. Then you have like
hmm.
three figures, the one at the top, at the middle, and far down, with each bracket of data. So you have to see which one is closer to what you're getting. Like say you're getting
Yeah.
something a mean value, you have to see which one is closer, Then once you see which one is closer, you pick that value. Then again you go to another different table. Again you use that value to pick again a different value from another different standard.
Y-
So
yeah,
that's
I
what
know
the
what you're
model
talking
had.
about.
Yeah, that's what the model had a lot of issues with, and it came with the wrong answer. Like it was picking those values, but now it was doing it wrongly.
That probably could
And
have been solved
Uh,
in a software update probably, because
yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds like extrapolation, and
And
that
the
that's not a hard thing to do these
and
days.
the latest
yeah,
models, they pretty much they can do that now. It shouldn't be a problem. If you I'm not sure about the ones that don't have the thinking ability, but if you use like the best thinking
I think
model, they
I
should be
think
able to do that, no problem.
yeah, maybe the one we thinking can be able to solve it. That's why I say I'll give it a try with the newer model.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And
but
also,
but what I know, even the subordinates who told me also that when it comes to things to do with any engineering calculations like structural analysis, whatever, don't
mm,
use AI. Although we have structural analysis softwares that we use, but again, like I
yeah,
remember what we were being told, they have been using AI, sort of AI, like for a long time, where you input the loads and
Yeah, there's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
already in existence to
yeah,
like a version of it, like a early version of it, sort of
it has been
already was existing for a
it,
while, but
it has
nobody called it AI,
yeah
you
it has
know?
yeah.
been
It was
the thing.
AI, but it's not like what we have now.
The thing is,
Right.
yeah, it was like AI, and in most cases it is correct.
Yeah,
When we were at school, you are being taught how to use it, but you are being told that always make sure you know how to do the
Be
do
calculation
careful,
yeah the
Chris.
word.
Be careful, Chris. You're supporting the evil institutions. Be careful,
Wait,
Chris.
no, I'm not. I'm not supporting. Like we are being told, make sure you know how to do the calculation on your own, and you can arrive at the answer, and never to rely on the softwares. Like you just have to confirm, because you can input a certain load by
Mm.
mistake, and it will calculate and give you the values it says
Yeah,
that it.
the value. Yeah, but it's based
But
on incorrect information.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
incorrect information. Yeah. Now when you go to ground and you implement it, things go southways and people die. Now they were telling everyone to make sure that you know how to do it on your own, like manually. You don't have to rely on these softwares. But they
Here's
have
where
been
it falls into like engineering as a making sure you know to use it only as a tool, because you have to figure out when something is not working. What
yeah.
the heck is going on?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can't answer that question unless you know what the hell that tool is doing or attempting to do to verify that piece of it. Maybe it's a coding issue. Maybe it's a what is it called, a restraint on a requirement or something. Whatever it is, you have to have the know-how to go in there and dissect it, but you need the knowledge to do that. You can't just go in there and start changing stuff. You have to specifically, methodically break it down, pick the piece that has the issue, narrow it down to a certain level that's manageable. Like all of these skills come with that experience. And ChatGPT is a great tool to give you an answer, but for something similar to that is
I
I don't think you can replicate that like
yeah, yeah.
I
great
think it's
right now.
I think it's better for programming right now, mostly
I
programming.
actually you could use it.
For
Programming
programming, it's
is
very accurate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can, but I think there's multiple layers to this. So I think the main problem is the speed at which people are trying to accomplish things. So I feel like the people who are mainly using AI and they're just taking the few responses that they get right away and then taking that as the ultimate answer, that's not good. But I do think that
Hey, why
when
don't
you're
you tell Lloyd that, bro?
I see I don't necessarily
Maybe
agree with
I
everything Laurel does,
I
but
have a
I,
no. Wait. For Teen Supersonic, you usually support Lloyd a lot. Like I needed to
yeah,
know
yeah.
if you have tried to do with AI what he
So
shown.
okay, so I what I've been doing ever since I found out about Lloyd.
Yeah.
Um, I've actually been reverse engineering his stuff using AI actually. And the reason why is because I think some of us might know, but he doesn't always explain everything in his videos completely or the best. Sometimes he might get something or not say something accurately, right? But
Yeah.
I can kind of
Wait a minute. You called me a hater for pointing that out, bro.
no, I didn't say that. I never said that he was 100% correct on everything, but I'm
I
saying that
said the
what he's
same
doing.
thing. I said the same thing about him not understanding what he's trying to explain. I got called a hater for that.
Well, that's not what I said. I said that he understands what he's doing, but he might not always say exactly how it's like standard or what you actually see. Like for example, when you're showing how he said 3 amps but it was 0.03 amps, obviously it wasn't 3 amps. So I could take from what he's showing in the video and derive the correct answers from that. But what I do is I do a layer on top of that, right? Because I use Google AI Studio, and here you can use text,
So
images, you can use video, you can use audio, right?
I've
So
seen it.
I
I've
take
seen
his
it.
yeah, yeah. So I take his entire video and I basically use because I use certain techniques to get the most accurate answers that I could possibly get out. Yeah, you mess around with certain sliders and you use certain terminologies and stuff like that. I've been using this stuff for long enough where I kind of understand, even though some of these models are different from each other, I know the basics to how to get them to do certain things and work correctly. But anyway, out of the box, Gemini 2.5 Pro is really good. So it's good enough. It understands pretty much almost any engineering task you throw at it. It gives you pretty reasonable answers from it. And so what I do is I take like a few of his videos, I put it into a chat, and then I ask it, okay, you compare these values to each other, or can you see how, or can you figure out how this is connecting to this? Sometimes he doesn't always show exactly like how his circuit is completely connected. So you kind of have to interpolate the information in between to figure out on your own. He does have some like newer circuits and stuff that you can use. I'm going to test his new what he calls it, like I think negative double negative P. I'm actually going
Yeah.
to test that. I just got solar panels recently, so
But then
I'm getting ready to
I
test this.
I I
you
I
see,
can tell you exactly what it's doing in within the circuit. I saw the schematic. I can literally tell you what it's
Yeah,
doing and how it's operating.
I
It's
know
rather simple.
I know what
you
it's
see,
doing too, but
you
I
see
just want to test it
on
myself.
actually, on WhatsApp many people are attempting it, and they are talking about that double negative a lot.
But
Yeah,
And in
yeah, it works.
and
have you
they sh-
noticed there's not a lot of
they're
people
showing
showing anything?
wait, but most of them are
The,
showing actually videos of
it,
voltage. They're showing
Yeah,
videos
videos of
of proof.
showing one side of things like voltage. Like, yeah, that's great, but give me the full picture. I need, like Supersonic say, I need the full picture because you're only giving me pieces here.
So I hope Supersonic, when you do it, you can show us also current, because the main issue is current. Like even that guy called Lovell, Lovell. I tried. He contacted me, I think yesterday. He showed me more videos where he is able to increase voltage. Then I tried to ask him if he can share current as well. He told me that yes, I can measure it. I saw his meter; it can measure current. He says yes, I can measure it, but he said he will send it to me. Until today, when I text him, I think it was about 2 days ago. I did text him yesterday. Hello, how far are you with it? Because he said yes, I'm going to send, and he has not sent
I think
anything to
I
show.
answered that mathematically on that
Yeah,
video. I think I
yeah.
answered it mathematically. And if I'm off, I'd be surprised because that
I think the
I
main,
these are
do
very fundamental things that would literally tell you whether or not you're doing
but
what you think it's doing.
I do
Lloyd,
recall that Lloyd does have a couple videos where he does show the current. side of the whatever's going on in the circuit. And I think
Yeah.
he did that. I forget which ones, but I think he did that to show how he was using the voltage output from the panels to boost the current up using the MOSFETs. But
Doesn't work.
The,
well,
way-
whether it does or doesn't, you
I will
gotta
say
Well,
test
see,
it.
no,
the,
this is why I said
the way
ChatGPT will tell you a very close to right answer, but it's not telling you the full answer. It's doing exactly what Lloyd does. It gives you enough to have an answer, but it's not really telling you the full answer. You don't get current out of a MOSFET.
you see
The
the way,
current goes through the MOSFET. It doesn't come out. The current that you manipulate with the bias, it goes from drain to source. That's it.
Y-
It doesn't come
Yeah,
out.
yeah. I know how transistors work.
Well,
I
that's what I'm
don't think
saying.
he's
He thinks he's getting current out.
the way
He
no.
thinks he's going to.
no
He thinks that MOSFET is
Ali,
creating current.
the way
Mm,
we when we did ask him last time that question, he agreed that you will get milliamps from it. But now he
No,
was
that's the
saying
solar
that,
panels. That's the solar panels.
yeah, he
I'm
was saying
talking
that.
about when he ties it to the MOSFET. He thinks he's going to get current out of a MOSFET. It's not
to
going to put out current because the current goes through the MOSFET to ground. It doesn't come out.
to be fair, he does when so I have seen some of his videos where he uses AI, and he's kind of like the average ChatGPT user where sometimes when because they don't know how they need to actually use the model sometimes. I'm not saying that Lloyd doesn't, because he's still not all of the answers that he gets from ChatGPT are like incorrect, but sometimes he if you don't pay attention to how you phrase things, you can lead the model to get exactly the answer you want, but sometimes the answer might not
Yeah.
always be correct, so you have to check it. But at the same time, I don't ever recall Lloyd saying that the current was coming from the MOSFET. That's not what he's saying. It's
If you
the
watch Chris's last video, he said it actually on more videos. I've been on Chris maybe 4 times already. At least half of those shows, he said that exact same thing, and I told him no, the MOSFET does not give you
well,
current.
even in Josiah's when he was explaining, how his paper is structured, and he was explaining the function of a MOSFET. Even he wasn't saying that the current isn't coming from the MOSFET. It's coming from the rapid switching, the frequency of the off and on effect.
Which is wrong too, but okay.
Well, that's not, because how does an alternator work in a car?
That's magnetic. That's a different beast. See, this is not muddying the waters, but that's a magnetic inductance. That's induced current in a motor. That
Okay,
is not
so how does a MOSFET work then?
a
It's
MOSFET.
literally a
A MOSFET is an electric field, not a magnetic field. It's an
okay.
electric field.
Uh,
So that's a
hold up.
different beast.
So even in most scientific fields, right? People still can't reconcile the difference between if an electric field is different from a magnetic field, or if they are doing different things, or if they are both working together to get the same thing accomplished. Now we're just getting into semantics at this point.
We're not getting into semantics. This is a very specific detail that's only understood if you actually studied magnetism, electromagnetism. If you studied these things, you understand there's vectors that's involved. Directional vectors that tell you which direction the current's flowing, which direction the field is folding, and how they're both orthogonal, whether you're talking about light.
True.
All of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is understood.
But
So again, when you say electric field and magnetic field and not knowing the difference, and some people mix it, I'm telling you, a MOSFET works on an electric field being created across that oxide. That's
yes,
how it
yeah,
works. A
yeah. I'm
motor is magnetic inductance. When you actually move current through a wire, it creates a magnetic field. And when you move it, it's called a magnetic flux. That's a completely different thing as far as moving
Uh,
charges and how things operate. So I want to make sure that's clear.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think anything you're saying is wrong. What you're saying is right. But what I'm saying is much like how voltage and amps go together, right? You can't really have one without the other, right? It's the same thing with magnetic fields and electric fields. You're not going to have an electric field without a magnetic field, and
You
same
can.
vice versa.
You can. A magnetic field needs a moving charge. A capacitor doesn't have to have a moving charge. You just have charge buildup. That's static. That's electrostatics. So in electrostatics, a buildup of charge creates an electric field. But a magnetic field is created with a moving charge through an inductor. That's why when you wrap things with a coil and you pass a current through it, like a transformer, it only works when you pass current through it. And when that current's moving, it induces a magnetic field inside the core, and it actually multiplies because that's why it's in a coil shape. It actually, if it's done right,
Yeah,
the
because it's
magnetic
stacked
field
on top.
strength is maximized at the center of that core. If it's done right, you can't just
Yeah,
wrap it at
yeah.
any diameter you want.
But
If there's a sweet spot that or a diameter of that core, if it's right, you will get the maximum impact from that magnetic field induced by the moving charge through the coil. So that's why I said you don't need a magnetic field just because you have an electric field. It could be static.
true,
So
yes, true,
MOSFETs
true.
are
But
static,
here
static
here's
electric fields, and the
here
charge that's building up and moving, that's in a completely different direction than the current flow. It's orthogonal. That's why I said it cannot be what you're not going to get current from it because of that. But I only
okay,
know that because I know the physics.
okay, okay. I agree. I agree, but here's why I said it's semantics, right? Because we could get into the nuances of or the specifics on if an electric field is a buildup of a current of electrons building up in the within the capacitor, or if a magnetic field is a physical moving magnet, right? But where I say is semantics is that the actual act of something moving can also be physicalized and it can be virtualized. By that, what I mean is if you are doing calculations on, let's say, for example, a CPU, right? And we know a CPU has billions of transistors, right? Like they're all like very tiny transistors that do this
Hmm.
specific function of going off and on. And the CPUs have a virtual component of them, right? They are called threads. So you have the cores and you have the threads. And so you have the transistors in the CPU that are rapidly switching on and off, correct? But then you have the virtualized components which are running another vital aspect of the CPU where it's sort of it's how do I put it? It's almost like a parallel process where it's trying to simulate the actual process of the um current going on, or the current going on and off real fast, but it's doing that so it can actually arrive to the oh, hold up, give me a second.
Yeah, I just to
Sorry, sorry,
reiterate,
sorry, I had
yeah,
background.
the idea of the MOSFET is it's there is no current through the oxide, or it's negligible. It's leakage current, but it's so small, we consider it as zero because it's so small. But there's no
Yeah, I
current
get that. The
physically
current
passing through.
the current doesn't, the point I was trying to get at, the current doesn't come from the gate. And I don't think Lloyd's ever said that the current comes from the gate. But the current doesn't come from the gate. It's the actual effect of the off and on, which is what sort of is boosting that current. Not from the MOSFET, but it's the field in the MOSFET.
No, because the field is perpendicular to the plate. The gate is a plate. So when you put a bias on it, charge carriers which are minority charge carriers, depending on the semiconductor, it's attracted to that plate. It can only go to the plate or back to the substrate, to the plate or back to the substrate. The source and drain is perpendicular to that. The current flow is actually 90 degrees to that bias on the gate. So the gate is not creating current. It's creating the path. That's it. It does not provide current. It creates a path for the source and drain to electrically connect. Now, the current running through that device comes from the drain. This is what I told Lloyd weeks ago. It does not, it comes from the drain. When he said he put his solar panels on the drain as well, I have two solar panels, one on the gate, one on the drain. Well, guess what? Your solar panels are only putting out 30 milliamps, brother. That's not amplifying current. It can only you're giving it current through the drain. That's where it comes from. But your panels only give out 30 milliamps. You're not giving it shit. That's nothing. So that's why he now, I am taking credit for this. He's now talking, oh, I can put my voltage here and have current come from another source. He's now talking like that. I can bring in a battery. Well, you know, the battery has both voltage and current. It doesn't need the solar panels. The solar panels are useless. The battery's doing the work now. So this is where he's misleading people, thinking this MOSFET is this magic device. It's not. It's not. It's only as good as the drain you power it. That's it. And even that current is not coming out. The current goes straight from the drain to the source to ground. It's not coming out. So that's not where you calculate your power out.
Scam,
If he actually Googles the power out for a MOSFET, look at that equation. Look at that
scam,
equation, how to calculate it. It is not what he thinks.
Scam Chen says field and a MOSFET, but do you not realize that MOSFET stands for metal oxide semiconducting field effect transistor? So it does have a
Wait, what
field.
happened?
Scam Chen says field and a MOSFET, but
Oh, he's questioning.
the
Okay,
name,
okay.
the word field is literally in the name MOSFET. It stands
Yeah,
for metal oxide semiconducting field effect transistor. Yeah, so
yes.
it does have some type of field, but I
It has
mean,
an electric
I,
field perpendicular to the base, the base plate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not disputing that. Like everything you're saying is not incorrect, but I just think that I mean, I'm not here today to like get into the whole like whether the MOSFET. I don't want to go back and forth with that, but I see both you and Lloyd's perspective. Like, frankly, I don't think that either of you are necessarily wrong or right. I think it's how you are looking at the picture as a whole. Um, so
Do you
I don't
think
know.
it's free energy in there?
Huh? Do I
Do
think
you
it's
think the
free
MOSFET
energy?
is giving free energy?
Well, okay. So for me personally, I think the term of free energy is kind of loaded. Like I don't like to look at it as free energy because I mean if you want to say that it's free and that you don't have to pay the electric company, I mean I guess maybe you could say it's free, but free is like as in like an overall absolute term. I don't think that any energy is free because you're always getting your energy from somewhere. But
Y- I'm just really saying it because I know that's one of his arguing points of that. Like that was the whole reason why he brought up the whole spike current or pulse current. That's why he keeps saying it because
well,
he's
I mean
saying it as if there's energy there, like energy
I
that wasn't there before. Somehow it's there and we can grab it. That's his argument, and
I mean
fundamentally, it's off.
I don't know. I disagree with you on that, but I've seen
Which part?
how what Lloyd. Well, because it's more complicated than just saying that if the energy is coming from directly from the MOSFET or to the MOSFET from the gate to whatever device, or if you're saying that it's something happening inside of the field or something like that. If we're not fully understanding like the mechanics that we're talking about here, I don't think we're ever going to really get to a actual solution on who really is right or wrong. Because at this point being, whenever you and Lloyd are talking, you can't really, no one really is putting an actual answer out there, because it's just
So
back
here's the
and forth
irony.
on like,
Here's the
hmm?
irony. Here's the irony. I'm being told I'm suppressing information when I'm actually offering the notion of what is actually happening in the device. I am not offering my opinion. I am not offering anything other than what I know exactly what's going on, down to the physics of the semiconductors. I can go in great detail. That is not by accident. And I
Would
kept telling Lloyd, I'm a different beast. I am not somebody on the internet just listening to you for some answers. I'm trying to offer you what I know from my experience, the things I've tested, the things I've built, the things I've designed myself. I've designed them. So I know. I'm telling you what I know that's in industry right now. You think your iPhone's working by itself? Somebody designed that circuit in there with MOSFETs, NPN devices, resistors, capacitors, batteries, transformers, all kinds of stuff is in there. Somebody designed it. And I'm telling you from industry, you are not supposed to be teaching this because your level of understanding is entirely too low. No disrespect, but he's not understanding what he's trying to say. He can't even get his words right. So that's a red flag usually. And I'm not, again, I'm not what do you call it? Like a language police. I just know in math and science, you have to be specific because if you're not, there could be introduced confusion, and confusion leads to errors and things that needs to be fixed later. So you have to be very specific, which
I
with how you
I
speak.
I get that, but where I kind of have to disagree on that a bit is, sometimes we have to be careful on how we want to define who should say what or who should not. Because a good example of this is YouTube, right? YouTube is meant to be a platform for the people, right? It's the
Yes.
you and tube. But as we all know, is that over the last few years has increasingly become more censored. You can't even say basic things like at all that you could say like maybe just like 5 years ago or so. You can't make a comment because it'll just, some random AI or something or some bot that they're running on the platform just automatically deletes your messages and or removes your videos and such. So we know that. So it's like it gets to a point to where I think we all should share what we know, but I think we shouldn't hold that information as such a high authority over someone else to the point to where someone who might not know as much as you but might know enough where if they might know something different that no one else has seen before, but they might have that little piece to the puzzle that we all need to figure out that answer that we're all looking for. But if
When the
we're
shit
shutting,
hits the
if
fan, when the shit hits the fan, who do you call? The experts, the ones who study this shit, not just math, not just science. I don't care if it's
I
political. I don't care if it's military. I don't care whatever, if it's medical, whatever it is. When the shit hits the fan, you call the ones that know this shit. So definitely there should be some level of if we're going to lean towards someone
yeah
with a voice.
yeah
Not
I
everybody deserves a voice. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan that everybody gets to have a
and
voice. Not
I
in every space. Not in
I
every
have to
space.
disagree on that. I
Not in
think
every space.
I think what you're trying to say is that there are some people who will, for lack of a better term, will try to sort of scam people who don't know any better with inaccurate information to sort of mislead people. But frankly, in my perspective, I think there's actually very few people who do that than what most people realize. Because as people tend to lean and focus more on the negative things than the positive things. You see it in the news all the time. Like some big thing happens, it's like, oh, this guy I don't know, bombs this building or something, and it's like, look over here, all this bad stuff is happening, or um someone releases a new product and it does all of these things, but it does this like one bad thing, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's so bad, it's trash. And so I think we have to be careful to distinguish those type of people from the people who are actually trying to bring something new that could be helpful. But
You
I mean,
can't.
that's,
How do I expect you to know how to change a
you can prove it.
scenario if you don't
You
understand what's going on?
be, because
You
you can
you
prove
you
it.
cannot improve on a car if you don't know how the car operates already. You have to know what it's doing in order to improve on it. How do you not how do you not see that part of it? Like you cannot do anything. I can't come into your class and know coding, and I've never taken a coding class. I just watched a YouTube video and I'm confident. It's not
Of
how it works.
I
of
did.
course,
I
I'm
did.
not saying that. I'm saying you can prove it, as in, if you are lacking the if you're lacking the vernacular or whatever, or you're lacking some knowledge somewhere, but you know enough to do something, you just need something to fill in the gaps, right? But you can prove it. That's why we do like science. That's why we do scientific methods. So we have an idea. We don't really know what the result will be, but we
That's a
have the
hypothesis,
assumption.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then we use our senses to arrive at that result. And if we can prove that result based on all of the process before, then and it works, then you have your answer. And that's what I was saying.
Not
Well,
necessarily, because you have to know how to test it. Sometimes the test is flawed. Sometimes you're not testing it the way you think you're testing it.
that
This is
yeah,
the exact case with Lloyd, to be
that
honest. He
that's
doesn't
Yeah,
true.
know, he's not
I,
even testing it properly to get the answer that he wants.
That's true, but it can also go vice versa. You could test an answer and then get the right answer somehow, even if the test might not be 100% accurate. Same way you can also test something and also get the wrong answer, but because the way you tested it wasn't correct, you got the wrong answer. So it's kind of, it goes both
Therein
ways.
lies peer reviews. Therein lies peer reviews to make
Yeah,
sure, do you understand that
I
what you're
agree. Yeah.
testing, this is how you test it. So you have to vet it through people
But
who know this stuff.
true,
That's exactly I'm getting
but
back to the exact same point I started with. There has to be some level of authority in knowing what the hell is going on.
I agree, but peer
did.
review comes with its limitations because, for
Of
example,
course.
be yeah, for example, even if you were to take even if you were to take every, I don't know, every genius in the world, right? Like whatever, however number there is, maybe there's a handful, who knows, just for this example. And you were to take every genius and you have a problem that people were trying to solve for years, centuries maybe, but they just couldn't. And maybe you have this one set they have the potential to, but within their lifetime they just never figure it out because they didn't have all of the information they needed to figure out. But these are the only geniuses that you have to actually get to that solution that you need, and yet they couldn't figure out. So that's why I'm saying, like, there's a
Because
limitation.
there's a lot of there's variables in that though. There's variables
Yeah,
in that.
yeah, of course, of
Everything's
course.
not going to be solved with just one group of people. I'm not saying that they're the end all be all, but for the knowledge that we have up to this point, somebody has it. And those are the people that need to be in position when the time calls.
Yeah, but
I, I'm
position.
okay with somebody tinkering, messing around, doing all that stuff. Lloyd can play with his LEDs until the cows come home. I don't care. It's the moment he comes up here and tries to convince people of things that not even he can prove. That's the part that I'm a little irritated with, and he doesn't want to know. It's like deliberate ignorance. He doesn't want to know. He'd rather call me a shill or somebody who works for the electric company, or he's the one that's suppressing information. Like no, I'm coming with information. I'm saying, look, some of this stuff has been figured out in physics book. Look, you can read it. You can do the calculation. You can actually see it right here. He doesn't want to hear it. So that's where my frustration comes with him. He doesn't want to know. But
So
I'd be damned if he's going to keep
Uh,
calling me a
I
shill.
did,
Like, no, I'm not a shill. I'm an educator. That's what I do. I can't. I'm not going to turn it off because he doesn't get it.
so I do on your side, do you believe that you are suppressing technology? On your side, like what you know so far. And there's this comment from Cecile.
Repeat that. Repeat that question.
On your side, do you believe that you're suppressing this sort of free energy technology? And
I
also,
am not
we have been,
suppressing free energy information. I don't like the misleading hope. And
yeah.
hey, buy my book because I figured it out. What the hell did you figure out? You asked a computer questions, which means the answer was in the computer before you asked it. So what exactly did you do? You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything that the computer didn't already know to give you. So that means the answer existed before you asked it. So don't come up here like you're the guru and I'm supposed to buy your book to get the information. What information? That's
well,
all I
I
want to
think
know.
even he says that the stuff that he's trying to show people isn't new. I mean, he said that a lot. So
Yeah, that's because he can't even explain half the stuff he's talking about. He can't. He tries. He
He's using,
definitely tries. That's why
he's
I keep
using,
coming up with these YouTube shorts. Anybody go to my channel? I got like 3 YouTube shorts. I got like 5 of them in the chamber because he
is it
keeps doing it.
ID? He uses AI for for validation to show that it works. If you remember the other guy called Josiah who said that he has a paper on I think I'll bring him back maybe in a few days. Also, Josiah was afraid to give out his paper because he feels like people will look at the paper and come at you
Mm,
and say you're wrong. But he feels
mm,
like
mm,
maybe if somebody goes ahead and tests the paper,
mm.
they might
Yeah,
come up with different results.
I I agree with that method because also going to make another point where he was saying how ID was saying how you got to rely that the people who know their stuff should be in the right position, but unfortunately, people have their upsides and they have their downsides, and no one's 100% perfect. So sometimes if you give certain people too much power, they will inevitably abuse it. And whether they misdirect people or they withhold certain information back from people or whatever it may be, there's a degree of intellectual dishonesty among certain groups of people where you can't always 100% rely on everything they say, and we know this in a lot of stuff in everyday life. So it's tricky. I get what you're saying about the trusting and relying on the people who know their craft, but you can't 100% even do that either. That's why we do have to learn on our own and test stuff. But about
I would
Josiah.
second that. I would second that. You
Yeah.
definitely need, don't trust what I'm telling you. Do not trust anything I'm saying to you. I suggest you go and learn exactly what you need to learn in order to dissect what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying is not my opinion. This is the science. So if you want to know the science, you still have to go out there and learn it. It's not up to me to give it to you. I got it. I got enough for me to get a career out of it. Do I have all of it? No, I don't have all of it. It's too vast to have everything. But the field that I'm in, I'm very fluent with a lot of the things in the field that I'm in. And Lloyd happens to step on that space right now. And it's just like I said, to sell the idea that he has answers when his answers aren't even his answers. That's crazy to me. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you saying something else. I
But
apologize.
yeah, I look forward to whenever Chris can get Josiah back on. I looked for his email, but I never saw it.
I
So I'm
think you
not
got your
sure.
email. I think you got your email wrong. I'd say that I'll contact him, but I forgot. I'll contact him tomorrow, and we
Hmm.
can plan.
Hey, I'm in free energy space too. Like that. That's my passion. I told people like I have one video. I only posted one video of my creating like an electrical signal to drive motors with just hot and cold water. Like I do that experiment on my channel. That's the only thing I posted. But that's the space I'm in. I'm trying to actually optimize that down to the semiconductor level because I know we have limitations with the materials we have now with the things that we use for those type devices. But anyway, that's another story. The point is, I am not here to suppress anything, but I damn sure want to squash any of the oh look, this is the next thing. And it's like, no, you really don't see it for what it is. And I don't want you to listen to everything I say. Go study it. It's there. It's in every physics book you can pick up. Just pick up one and just read it. That's all I'm saying. Don't take my word for it. And also do the calculations, do the numbers. I'm not an astrophysicist, but I literally sat down with a flat earther and went through how gravity's calculated just to show them, look, the numbers work. I'm not arguing when the numbers work. They work. So why am I going to denounce it? Because it came from an institution? Well, that institution's teaching the same science that's practiced across the world. And it's been building products since its existence. I don't know what else to trust. Definitely not somebody just watching YouTube videos. So again, don't listen to me. Read the books. Physics, not Lloyd's books, physics books. Not Lloyd's books.
I do want to look through one of them. I forgot which one has which one has the schematic. I gotta look through them. I haven't looked through any of them yet, but
I don't
I
think that any
yeah
has schematics. He said the one with schematics. I think it will come later to be a little bit more expensive.
yeah. I'm not sure which one it is that has it, but I think he has like he released like a few recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure the title of them though. Yeah, I have to look it up. But yeah, I get your perspective, and I get Lloyd's perspective too. I don't know. I think whatever differences you guys have, I mean, we can't just keep going back and forth on the same thing every time. We gotta progress somehow.
Well, it's I would love to progress, and I said it before. The first time I met Lloyd, I was so respectful to that guy. I could have really tore into him, but I didn't. I said, "Let me sit down with the brother. Let me understand where he is and see if we can come to some common ground." Now, me, I'm a mathematical geek, so I get that part. That my approach is sometimes too like above a lot of people's heads with the calculus and all. I get that. And I'm not expecting people to know triple integrals off the top of their head. I'm not expecting that. I'm trying to figure out where you are so we can then meet somewhere. Like on just some conversation. Let me know where you are. I'll tell you where I am, and maybe we can find a common path in there. But when I offered my level of, hey, this is what I think is going on, I was like ignored. And like, you asked me to come here though. I thought that's what you wanted me to do. So I don't know
Hmm.
why I'm being told I'm suppressing. I know, Chris, you asked that in the chat. Am I suppressing the free energy? I'm not suppressing anything. I invite anybody's idea. I actually sat and listened to Lloyd pitch that whole solar panel in the basement thing for 20 minutes before I got into it. Like, what is he talking about? Does he not realize you need the intensity of the sunlight? You can't replicate that with LEDs. That's not how
You
that
know,
works.
the only problem with progression right now. I doubt if you guys will progress beyond this. Because when it comes to Lloyd, as of now, when it comes to Lloyd, he will want you to believe in what he's doing, and when it comes to you, you will want him to see how it's supposed to be according
Yeah,
to how you see it. So,
I,
so
I,
I
I
don't,
just
I
offer
don't.
mathematics, bro. I just offer what the mathematics tell me. That's what I follow because I know that's what dictates what's get built in the future. The mathematical models that we have, we derive them to because it's built on empirical data, and I use it. because I know it's been proven time and time again. I trust nothing else but the numbers because I know there's no bias in it if I'm coming up with the same answer mathematically. So something is off if someone's trying to convince me not to use the model that we use every day.
True,
Every
true.
single
You,
day we use products made on the same math, physics, and science. I'm supposed to denounce that and say, nah, because it came from an institute. All of this information I'm talking about came from a physics book that an institute had. Are there more than one
yeah,
physics book? Yes.
yeah,
They're all
we
the
can't.
same information, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can't deny that. I mean, obviously, there's been good things that have come out of academic institutions and stuff. Obviously, we can't deny that. But what I'm saying is there's a weakness to that as well, where I think a lot of people overlook, because as you said yourself, all the information, all the data we have on this stuff that we've learned for years, it's all the same, right? We're all learning the same thing. So I think it becomes like a blindness sort of, to where it it's like that's pretty much all you're ever going to see, that dimension of that thing. Like, for example, people don't realize that math is multi-dimensional, right? But we only tend to use, really, at a fundamental level, like, you know few dimensions of it, right? And until we start actually looking at different aspects of how you can use mathematics, we're only ever going to get the same results every time. We might be able to make little incremental steps here, because you can get so much out of that little space, even if that little space might be very vast. But there's still more spaces of that space that's yet to be unused, so people will never really see the whole picture. So that's why I think that this idea of relying on what's the standard now is sort of a weakness, because the standards will always change as
I
new
I
things
do not
develop.
agree with a standard. I don't think I'm speaking of believing in a standard, but there
Well,
is
well,
a proper method to apply
yeah,
a
yeah.
scientific approach. There's a reason why it's a method.
I
There's a
get, I get,
reason, and
I get.
it's not a theory. It's a scientific theory. They're not the same. So this is a different walk.